Morning, Raptor Freaks, Lexi. It's just a little bit early. I felt like starting up. I was ready. I was like, why don't I just start? Who cares? I don't wait till 9:30. Why not start now? The Raptors beat the Rockets last night. And listen, I am annoyed with people right now. I'm annoyed with the media right now because, like Josh Lewenberg, you put a picture on your Twitter of the vibes, and you're trying to point out the bench and how people are sitting on the bench. I know it looks bad and it looks kind of weird, but honestly, you know what? Y'all need to shut up. Because the best thing we can do with how things are going right now is ignore it to a degree and just allow us to have some chance to correct things with a move or just something. I'm sick of this. You know, there's a lot of people that are going to take a picture of the Raptors and their current state and take a snapshot and say, this is who they are. And they're going to be like this for months now. Like, we're going to have a hard time shaking being a shitty team for a while, because all these people are going to hang on to this time and remember this time right now. And they're going to say stupid shit for months and maybe years from now based on right now, which pisses me the fuck off. Because I'm a positive Raptors fan, and I remember the game I went to on Halloween this season when we blew out the Atlanta Hawks by 40 points. And I'd much rather take a snapshot, if we're taking snapshots of the Raptors and their different places that they can be, of that. And remembering that is the team that I root for. That is the team that I'm rooting for. I ain't about all this negativity from the media and people downplaying us beating the Rockets last night. Will Lewis saying, oh, this is awful. This is two horrible teams slugging it out against each other. Motherfucker, that may be true to a degree, but you know what? Like they've said all season, and we know every single NBA win is a challenge and is tough, and we cannot poo-poo this just because it's the Houston Rockets. We cannot poo-poo this just because Jalen Green was in street clothes. We need to take the feelings of goodness from this and get them while we can. So y'all, we won last night. Why are y'all acting like we lost, you motherfuckers? You're pissing me off. I didn't think I was going to cuss today because we did win. I said yesterday I will be cussing today if we lose. Well, we won, and I'm cussing today because of fucking idiots acting like we lost last night, even though we fucking won, y'all. We won the game yesterday. Why is everybody acting like we lost? What the fuck is wrong with you media and fans of the Raptors that are so down? We should be happy. We got that W last night. You idiots. Why are y'all acting so morose and pointing out all the negativity on a day that we won? Oh my gosh. We have to celebrate while we can this season. This is so obvious. So I'm sick of it. So geez, just shine a light. Be positive. We won the game last night. Y'all are acting like we lost. You fucking idiots. Oh my gosh. All right, Nameless did come in here. Who was it? Who was it, Monique? Let's see. I gotta read this. Nameless came in first, and I missed. The comment's not up anymore, but he said something about Fred VanVleet and that he's hearing the noise from the fans and that it may influence his decision. And I still don't believe this, guys. Listen, this is the way the players look at the interaction with us, people like us that don't play, that watch, we're spectators. First of all, we're not all fans. Some of them are just people that like to watch basketball. Some of them are people that like sports. Some of them are Leaf fans that are bored and there's no Leaf game and they want to watch a Raptors game. There are different people that watch the Raptors. We are fans. In fact, we're better than fans. We're better than fanatics. We are freaks. That is why we're the Raptor freaks. We really care and we're positive about being fans. Then you got people that are kind of fans. You're like, yeah, I like Toronto because I'm from Toronto. I want to root for them because I'm from the city, but they may not be that passionate or knowledgeable. And then you got people that are just fucking watching and talking out their ass on Twitter anyway. And I think that this is what we need to suss the difference between us, freaks, fans, fanatics, whoever, and casuals, or not just casuals, fans that are sports fans or people that are fans of sports in general that like to watch basketball and the Raptors are their market. This is the thing. The players know who the fans are. The players talk to amazing, positive people every single day. They go to places in public and they run into real fans, people that actually like them and care about them and say nice things to them all the time. That's why they say the fans are incredible. The fans are amazing people because the fans, the positive people that come at them with positivity are fans. Those people that come at them in negativity are not fans, and they should never ever get the honor of wearing that label of being fans, let alone ever getting to being the level of being a freak like we are. Nah, see, that's the difference. And we need to start with our language when we talk about this subject to stop saying the fans are going to drive the players out of here, because the fans will not. The fans will keep them here. And the fans are the people that they love and they talk about when they say the fans are great. We love the fans in Toronto. So we need to make this distinction. The fans will not drive them away. The people that aren't fucking fans, that are just miserable fucking trolls, pieces of shit, assholes, will drive them away. And I want y'all to know that the Raptors, the players, do not look at those people as fans. They look at them as assholes, just like we look at people in the world as assholes that act like that. So I felt like this is a very important distinction to make about Toronto Nation, Raptors Nation. There are fans, there are fanatics, there are freaks, sure, in the positive side. But there are also idiots, dumbasses, trolls, assholes, miserable fucks, bullies, just fucking, all that kind of shit too. And that we need to make that distinction. And you can really suss him out. Pensair is a fucking asshole. He's not a fan. He's an asshole. And people like him are assholes. He may be a fan of Scotty, but he's not a fan of the team. And he's a fucking asshole. That's what I just want to make this distinction clear. So I'm not worried about the fans driving Fred out of here. It's the fucking idiots. And in this case, Fred knows there's going to be fucking idiots in Chicago. He knows there's going to be fucking idiots in Phoenix. He knows there'd be fucking idiots in Orlando. So it doesn't matter if he's in Toronto or in any other city. There's still going to be fucking idiots. And the fans in Toronto are fantastic, and they're great, and they stand beside him. So this is the way I want to paint the picture for y'all. And the players, their families, these people coming at them online and saying stupid shit, they don't look at them as fans. They look at them as fucking assholes. And the fans are the ones that are coming at them with love and support and acting like fans. So I just felt like that was a real important distinction. Now, trolls and ugly people are going to be everywhere. It doesn't matter if they play for the Raptors, they play for the Knicks, they play for the Sixers, they play for the Celtics, they play for the Magic. It doesn't matter. They're in every fucking fan nation. And I shouldn't say they're in every sports group nation. They're not fans. I shouldn't say they're fans because they aren't. That's my whole point right now. Anyway, just to answer Nameless's first comment. Now, they didn't do any interviews last night after the game. At least any that I saw. I did not see any posted. And I was thinking, well, is this because, first of all, they won? But, it's not really a game to be like talking about too much. Maybe they'd get up there, and even though it was a win, they'd talk about it and feel like a loss. So maybe Nick was like, no, we're just bypassing the post-game conference, like, because there are no interviews from last night. I did not see any interviews from the Rockets or the Raptors after the game. And I stayed up to try and wait for them to watch them. And they're not even up this morning. So I have no word on the game from last night. But you know what? The game kind of does speak for itself. It wasn't pretty. We got off on the wrong foot. We had a real hard time starting the game once again. And but we made things happen by the end of the game. And it was an ugly game. But we were not the worst team. We were a way better team than them. They missed a lot of shots. There was a lot of weirdness. But we took care of business. And that's all that matters. It doesn't even matter if it's like a half-assed game or whatever like that. Like I said, the W is hard to get. And, even with some things with the referees, things that were happening in that game, it's really impressive in some ways that the Raptors held on and won that game last night. Some of us in the fourth quarter were probably like, all right, let's watch this next disaster unfold. Let's see how badly we can be let down in a game like this, where it's like we're beating the Rockets. It's not a very big lead near the end, and then boom, they beat us. Oh yeah, that would have been really, really bad, but it did not happen. Fortunately, they took care of business, and we did have some shining stars in the game last night, which made me feel really good. My first star of the game last night is Fred VanVleet. 10 of 22 from the field, 5 of 11 from three-point range, 7 of 9 at the free throw line. He missing 2 free throws is really weird. I never see that from him. 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal. He was a +9 with 32 points. Fred was really carrying water once again last night. And it really is like he's finally hitting his stride. His troubles earlier in this season are made more to illuminated because basically Fred, in some ways, from his injury last season and his rehab over the summer, was still ramping himself up to get back to this consistent level that he's playing at right now. That a lot of his struggles earlier in the season were kind of partly planned because it was part of his rehab schedule to get back to being 100% and being fully operational as far as like going to the lane and throwing these crazy spin shots and getting more contact and just the form of his shot and him being able to shoot more smoothly and stuff. He's finally hitting his stride, and it's great. It's fantastic, and we needed it. But that's really been part of the thing that we found out more recently, that in some ways Fred expected to struggle at the beginning of the season because of the ramp up of him getting back to his best level that he can play at. He was very cognizant of this process and was expecting it to happen this way. But now he's out of it. We know this guy's very consistent at this point. And I just love the stuff throughout the whole game. And he mixes it up. He really does. He's doing the point guard stuff. He's doing the going in inside and doing crazy layups, that's the whole most fun thing that he's doing right now. We're seeing some brilliance with Fred near the basket with layups. And then he's hitting huge important threes also in different times. So Freddie's my first star. Fantastic job. 5 threes last night was really good. And in fact, beating the Rockets at the 3-point line was a huge key to us winning last night. Fred, my second star of the game is Gary Trent Jr. Gary shot a fantastic 10 of 15. That is absolutely amazing and incredible. He really was electric last night. And listen, this dude is such a good shooter. He's amazing. 5 of 9 from 3, 4 of 4 at the free throw line, just 1 rebound, 2 assists, but 29 points for Gary Trent Jr. He was just really, really like water flowing for us for offense last night, and absolutely necessary for us to win in this game last night. He was a big part of that 3-point barrage, and his shot just looks so money right now. Like you see it go, and it's so beautiful how it goes through the net. It doesn't touch the rim. It doesn't. It looks like it doesn't touch the rim at all. It just hits that net just right. You know how it is, basketball heads. You know what I'm talking about. Hits that net and swoosh right through the middle. I love that so much, Gary. You keep going too with playing so well and consistent. And my third star, I was thinking about who I should give this to. I really want to give it to Chris, and I should recognize Chris for jump starting the game for us at the beginning of the game. It's crazy that he got our first basket and that he scored like 7 of our first 10 points, considering he didn't start. You know, that's a really kind of a crazy phenomena and just shows just how flat the starters were right when they started. But I am going to give it to Siakam. He's been very maligned. And honestly, this wasn't the anger game after getting snubbed from the All-Star game, but he was a lot more efficient last night. And I have to give him credit for that. A 10 of 20 game is way better for me. I love it. 50%. You know, he was missing all his shots early, but he started making them better in the middle of the game, and he made up his field goal percentage. 10 of 20 is great. That's perfect. I love that. You could be a little better, but you know what? That's good enough. 1 of 3 from 3, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 23 points for Siakam, a -2. I just need to recognize him because in some ways I just really feel bad for this guy. You can tell he's struggling and he's having some problems. Like before the game, they asked him about getting snubbed for the All-Star game, and he said he can't control it. Why is he going to get upset about it? You know, we're hearing all kinds of different attitudes from different people that did not make the game. I like Jamal Murray's tweet about it. It's like, if you don't put in the work, you don't get what you get. You know, you got to put in the work to get what you get, and you didn't get it, you don't get it. And he's, you know, talking about himself. So that, you know, very mature way of dealing with Pascal, but you can tell he's upset and he's a little down, and it's not fun. And the whole team is kind of weird right now. I know that, listen, part of the culture of the Raptors is winning and being winners. And in some ways, the Raptors squad right now feels like losers. And this is part of this whole stupid thing with everybody in the media saying the vibes on this team are horrible. They look at the bench, they see how people are looking around. There's a lot of weird interaction with different people on the team and stuff like that. I don't know. You guys are choosing to see what you want to see. I see a team that's been in a little lost, but they're searching for answers. And maybe they'll get a couple of good things happen for them and figure things out a little bit better. Maybe it will be a deal. But I'm not giving up on them. And I don't like people just painting them with these pictures because, listen, this could be very damaging for our franchise in years to come because people will always this is what the thing, people that don't want to pay attention to us will pay attention to us right now just so they can soak in and remember the memory of the Raptors right now. And then they can tell us that this is who we are all the time in the future, even though we're like a 600 team or like a 700 team, like winning percentage. So it's like, it's so fucked up. That's what I'm saying. We need to mind erase ourselves, get that Men in Black thing and zap our heads about the time right now and forget about it. And the more we can get other people to forget about it, once we get things going the right way, that'll be good. So, all right, let's see. Monique is saying, can we talk about that third laugh out loud and not the first 3 stars of the game? And the Fred, Chris, and Gary. Yeah, she picked Chris instead of Pascal. And I have no problem with that. Chris was amazing. In fact, I was wondering why he didn't play more later in the game. I mean, he did play 23 minutes, but he did play 12 of those minutes right through the first quarter into the second. 5 of 11 from the field. He did hit 1 3. That was a really timely 3. 3 offensive rebounds, 8 rebounds altogether, a steal, and 3 blocks, plus 12, 11 points for Boucher. Really, really fun game for Boucher. And he really was like a captain of energy and getting us going in the beginning of the game. We absolutely needed him to jumpstart us. It was crazy. Yeah, that extra boost. Every night, hustle, play, and D. That's right, Monique. And she's saying she wants Matt Devlin to feel better and go Jonesy. Yeah, that was such a weird situation. TSN didn't have like a pregame show on, and they said there was technical difficulties. I was wondering what was going on with that. Well, you know what it was? Matt Devlin is gravely ill, very sick all of a sudden right before the game and could not broadcast. And they were probably scrambling to figure out how to do the broadcast without their play-by-play. And what they did was so weird and kind of crazy. They had Jack at the game as the color analyst sitting at the game, and Jonesy, who's here in Toronto, in the freezing cold weather we've had in the last day or so, minus 20, crazy shit. And they called it remotely together, which is such a weird phenomenon to have your color guy down on site and then your play-by-play is here in Toronto remotely. But listen, I thought they did a fantastic job considering the distance and the fact that they couldn't sit right next to each other and look at each other to talk to each other. They really played off of each other very well. And it shows the true professionalism that these broadcasters have for so many years now, decades, Jack Armstrong and Paul Jones. And the other thing about it is Paul Jones was calling the game for the television and the radio at the same time. We do not do this anymore. We used to do this all the time, y'all. I don't know if you knew this, but when Chuck Swirsky was calling the games as our main guy, like Matt Devlin back in the day, he was simultaneously, him and Jack would be calling the game on TV and radio at the same time. And as somebody who studied broadcasting in university and different things like that, this is really hard to do in some ways because you have to tell the story visually for the radio people that are listening while also making it interesting for the TV people. So really good job towing that line, Paul Jones, last night. Super impressed with your performance last night as a pinch hitter. And also double duty, very versatile and good job. And some of your sayings last night were hilarious, Paul Jones. You know, you had Jack going, "What the fuck did Paul Jones just say?" And I'll tell you right now, that is a pretty good feat because Jack's usually the one making those old towny sayings and metaphors and similes like you were doing last night. And some of them were so good. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I was like, when Paul said a couple of the his comparison things. I was like, whoa, did Jonesy just say that? I'm like, wow, that is really fucking cool. And it's like some of his very old wisdom, like John Wooden kind of shit, or like old basketball kind of sayings. And then like just hilarious. Paul Jones, good job last night. Fantastic. And get better, Matt Devlin. I hate hearing this, and I hope it's not too serious. We'll have to see if you're back for Sunday. I really hope you are, because it's not right. And it's a little weird, but it's great to know that we have great backup plans and that these guys are so good, they can do it over distance. That's fantastically impressive to me. Seriously, in some ways, the MVP last night was Paul Jones. I'm going to put it that way right now. Tom Duke saying, Buongiorno, nameless. Fred retweeted a fan's tweet to argue Pascal should have been an all-star. 100% hears us, but also shit fans noise. He continues to shine. Raptors again got that win thanks to Steady Freddy. Yeah, the thing that would maybe hurt these guys is if these accounts of people are like they say they're fans, or they have like stuff like, something in their name that it connects them to being like in Raptors fan nation. But really, it really is this way. And we really got to I know that they do this. They've had to do this all along. It's like Fred's had haters, people that have put him down at every step of his life in different places, whether it's to his face, whether it's on social media, whether it's in the newspaper, whether it's on TV as a reporter. He's dealt with everything like that. So it's nothing new to him. In some ways, we've got to stop being overly sensitive ourselves for him in like a way, because he's not like this. I'm sure he's very much the person will see somebody say some bullshit on there. What a fucking asshole, and just like go on with his day. I'm pretty sure he doesn't give more than a moment's notice to the fucking assholes. And he probably has a whole lot of different safeguards to keep their noise out anyway. But yeah, I like seeing Fred standing up for Pascal to be an all-star. He's right. And I love that he put that up almost immediately after the announcement of who was the all-star reserves. And yeah, I don't know how much they actually do really look around or wait. This is not good for your mind or your health. And, they're not fans, first of all. Once again, I want to say this. We got to stop calling them fans. They're just fucking people that are assholes. They're negative, and they happen to like be in spaces where fans of Raptors, the Raptors are. So, yeah. All right, let's see. Tom Duke is saying Buongiorno, Mo, and everyone else. Buongiorno, Tom Duke on the West Coast. Come on, Top L2. Wait, that's not the same language. What the fuck am I doing? All right, let's see. Tom Duke is saying, Gary Sr. was on the Will and Alex show, the Raptors show yesterday, talking about a lot of stuff. Physicality and ball in the 80s and 90s. He must laugh at skirmishes like Mo Bamba and Austin Rivers. Well, it was interesting. I heard part of that. I listened to part of what Gary said about the difference between the basketball back when he played and the basketball now. And it was interesting. He's just basically reinforcing a lot of the stuff I was saying earlier this week about how physical it was back then, that you could punch people and hit people and push them around. And now it's like really safeguarded the violence. A big thing that happened in the history of the NBA between that era that Gary Trent Sr. played in and now is the Malice in the Palace. That the NBA had such a bad financial hit and took a really bad PR hit from that fight in the stands with the fans, that they've gotten super ultra sensitive to any kind of violence in the league. There's been a couple of incidents throughout the history of the league that have been so horrible that they've had to really change things incredibly quickly. And another incident like this was in the late 70s when Kermit Washington punched Rudy Tomjanovich in the face squarely and broke his face. Basically, his whole face just became a blood and came out. That was very shocking and scary at that time, and it caused a chain reaction of a lot of changes in the game because of that. And that's the big difference. The Malice in the Palace was a real bad black eye for the NBA, and they had to come back from it. And that they had to shore up, stopping all the contact and fighting and stuff. So it's really interesting. It was a really cool interview with Gary. And I like Gary Trent Sr. talking about all kinds of stuff, talking about Gary Trent Jr.'s situation right now and saying, like, one of the things he said that was interesting is the rumors, a lot of them are true. The rumors about Gary and the things that are going on right now. But it's like, who cares? This is just how it is. And it really echoes through Gary Trent Sr. on the Raptors show, how Gary Trent Jr.'s attitude is about things. It's like, just do you, be you, take care of you, and do what you do best, and make your brand be out there and put out who you are, and everything will work itself out. Because it really is the kind of thing where you control your destiny by controlling what you do and how well you do. Everything will work out. You will get that money and everything will be fine. And that's really been Gary's mantra this whole entire season. It's real easy to fall into different mental problems because of having problems with like being distracted from trades and different things like that. And Gary's done a really good job managing all that and playing at a really high level. You got to give him so much kudos for that. Seriously, it's crazy. But yeah, that was an interesting Raptor show with Gary Trent Sr. Really cool. Yeah, I think he laughs at a lot of the skirmishes these days. Thought it was really, really funny what happened with Dillon Brooks and Donovan Mitchell a couple nights ago. And then, yeah, Mo Bamba and Austin Rivers, there's going to be a bunch of suspensions, and that'll be a silly-ass game. But yeah, whatever. Let's see. So, yeah, Monique's saying, so proud of the time. No Dillon Brooks tomorrow. We're not playing today. Yeah, Dillon Brooks has been suspended for hitting Donovan Mitchell in the nuts, and he will not be available to play against us tomorrow in Memphis. He has been suspended for one game, and we just happen to be the game that gets the luck of not having him playing against us. In some ways, that's fun because he is really crazy, and he's out of control this year with fighting with Shannon Sharp and then hitting Donovan the nuts last night. A lot of people are mad at Dillon Brooks, and he really is becoming a league-wide villain. And they want him to be like suspended for the whole rest of the year for such a blatant nut shot. Yeah, so I don't know that. It's interesting. At least we're getting a break and getting an advantage from something stupid that happened elsewhere in the league by, him not being available for tomorrow's game. Let's see. Monique's also saying, congratulations, Kia Nurse, on your new team. Yeah, Kia Nurse is signing with the Seattle Storm of the WNBA. There's a lot of interesting moves going on with the WNBA right now. And in some ways, this is really good. That league needs to catch the interest of more people because there is more interest in it right this moment, partly because of Brittany Griner, but because of all kinds of different people moving in free agency right now, builds an excitement about the Las Vegas Aces, the New York Liberty, the Phoenix Mercury. So yeah, WNBA, take this inertia and start building even more. You will get more spectators, and this league will be more and more successful. I'm all about it. You go WNBA. This is a summer I will be paying more attention to you because we would like a team up here in Toronto. So you go ahead and come up here, play that exhibition game, see how much we love it, and you will be here soon. I bet you money you will. Let's keep on going. Yeah. Nameless made a great point on the media, so on Fred, and I totally agree. There goes Raptors, so happy knee. One thing also, besides the bad people that are involved in talking or online that aren't fans, there's also the media does piss people off too on teams. This has always been the case. There's certain reporters that people don't like on the Raptors. Lowry had people he didn't like and people he did. There's some reporters they like. A lot of them sometimes really do like Doug Smith. But a lot of them, a lot of times, do not like Michael Grange. And, the reporters are going to get on their nerves, too. And certain players and reporters have had feuds in the history of the NBA. And it's hilarious because they won't talk to certain people, or they get really mad at them. And it's kind of well known in some ways sometimes if there's a feud between a Chicago writer and one of the Bulls or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, once again, the players are going to realize they know that the reporters are the same everywhere they go. There's going to be some reporters that are really cool, some reporters that are more fun reporters like Lindsey Dunn that are going to write lifestyle pieces about the personality. But then you'll have assholes like Michael Grange or Mike Ganter or people that are going to try and get things out of them to write pieces that are kind of destructive or not very good for the Raptors. And those are the guys they're kind of wary of. So, yeah, the reporters, once again, they're not a factor in what the players decide. I will say this squarely right now because there's a lot of this narrative getting pushed that reporters, that fan nation or people that are around the fan nation that aren't fans have an impact on whether players decide to stay on a team or not. No, that is not a thing. And that doesn't happen. I'm sorry. These guys are too proud. And in some ways, they're kind of people that, like Fred, he beat the odds. And he did things that people told him he couldn't do. So it's not like he's listening to anybody then. So it's like, I'm telling y'all, quit worrying about the fans driving people away from our team. This toxic cesspool in our fan nation is in every fan nation, and the players are not basing their decisions on the fans or the reporters. Trust me, they are not in a factor in any of this. They could give a shit. Some of the players are like, I don't care if any of the fans like me, and some of the players they're like, most of them are like, I don't care, but I'd like them to like me. You know, it really isn't as we aren't as important as y'all think we are. We really, really aren't. We really, really aren't. All right, let's keep going. Nameless is saying morning freakazoids. Hello, Lou, Ducarelli, Chicazo fa, Ducarelli, Toma Ducarelli, yes, Tommaso Ducarelli, yes. Forgetful saying today's line from the FredHaters. Okay, let's hear what they're saying. Forgetful. I'm glad you're telling me he's only in it for the money. So trade him. It's a pathology. Holy crap. I wonder if a Dillon Brooks up punch might be the cure they need. Ooh. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. They've been saying that kind of stuff about him for a couple years, partly because of the parlay documentary. I don't know. Whatever. The FredHaters are going to come in with whatever. This is part of what I'll say is we got to just ignore them. I really, really do block people as soon as I see that they're kind of negative about the Raptors and they're not really constructive criticism. And I think that in some ways it's good to keep tabs on them. And I don't know how to argue this. He is for the money. In some ways, Fred is for the money. Every single player in the league is. So it's like, it's stupid. All right, go ahead, make up whatever you want. The guy was the leading scorer in the game last night, took us home, won the game, #1 star for the Raptors. You go ahead and hate on him, even though he got us a win and he's been playing fantastic basketball for about a month now. So yeah, you go ahead and keep hating Fred haters. It just seems they're not fans. First of all, we're just gonna have to say they're haters. That's what we'll do. We're just gonna start calling them Raptor haters, and that's what they are. They may call and self-identify themselves as fans, but they ain't fans. So we just call them. You're a Raptor hater, and that's it. Oh no, I root for the Raptors. No, you don't, because your behavior betrays that and says that no, you are not a fan of the Raptors because you're hating. You're a hater. You are a hater. And if you hate on Fred, you're a Raptor hater. I don't care if you say, well, I'm for the team. I think they'll be better without him. Well, you're not Bobby Webster, so you don't make the decision on whether that is true or not. And second of all, if you love this team, you will support the captain and the leader and the figurehead, the brain trust of this team at the very top is Fred. So that, you not liking him and going against him, I'm sorry, this isn't like hockey culture. This isn't like other places. You don't do this shit with the basketball. Because first of all, we don't change players like y'all change lines in hockey. We try and keep a family together to build good vibes over a long period of time. That's the best way to build good teams in the NBA. And some of y'all are coming at it with sports psychology from other major sports that just don't make sense for roster building. The way you kind of come in and think, well, tinker with this, tinker with that. We are super invested in Fred, and Fred is staying. And we're about to see the signs that he is going to stay. Watch. We're going to see a quiet deadline for him specifically. We may see something else. And then other people are going to be realizing the writing's on the wall, and Fred is invested in long term with the Raptors, that they are investing in him. You're going to find out Fred haters and Raptor haters, because you are a Raptor hater if you are a Fred hater. Naco the Nacho is here. I was only able to catch the second half. Fred, Gary, and Koloko were our best players. The first quarter, it was Chris Boucher, Naco. He was absolutely our best player. In fact, he got most of our points, and he didn't start. He didn't come in the game until 5 minutes in the game. We had not scored yet. So it was very much one of these stupid-ass games where we didn't score right away. And Chris saved us by coming in and breaking the seal to score for us. It's crazy that it happened like that again. Koloko was fantastic. I'm glad you brought him up, Nako. Koloko off the bench did not score. He played for 17 minutes, though, and he was our highest plus 16. He was a huge factor. We needed him out there kind of battling with Sengun. He was really annoying, Sengun. He's a very dominant player, and him and Scotty Barnes do have a lot in common as far as low post presence and being overwhelming. 7 rebounds for Koloko, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Just very active and getting some stats in there and really really cool on the rebounds. I really liked how he's fighting in there and getting rebounds for us. Between Chris, Precious, and Koloko, we have some really good rebounders, and these guys need to continue to be out there. I was really happy with Nick's rotations for the most part last night. He did get the bench a lot more minutes, and we see that if we're minutes police, we see that none of the Raptors went over 40 minutes. The highest minute total was Gary Trent Jr. at 38. And, you got to love it. 37 for Barnes and Fred, 36 minutes for Siakam, and then 29 for Precious. And, the bench production was pretty awful. And people are pointing to all the goose eggs off the bench and that Chris only scored 11 points off the bench, and that's all we got. And that is kind of annoying, but I don't want to poo-poo the contribution of Christian Koloko. Delano Banton came in. He didn't do really a whole lot, and it wasn't like the last time where he kind of we went on a little run and got back in the game when he came in this time. But he did come in for 2 minutes. Malachi missing all 3 of his shots, but still a +3. And him and Fred were really working well together out there, talking to each other and communicating. And then Juancho 5 minutes, 0 points also. So you really can't go on about the bench in any kind of productive way about yesterday, other than Boucher and Koloko. But it is what it is. And it's interesting Thad Young didn't play. And once again, Khem Birch just sitting there. And I worry, at one point I saw Khem sitting there with the ice pad on his knee. So that may be that this is really like on the download, not that important injury news that we just don't get to hear because it is. But they know on the inside that Khem's knee is still kind of bugging him, and that's part of the reason why they're still not using him. So I don't know. Maybe they are really trying to heal him up as much as possible by not playing him at all right now. So I don't know. I have to try and figure out answers about Khem Birch because it is very mystifying to me what's going on. Jay Conda's here. What's up, everyone? A little closer than I would like, but a W is a W. That's exactly right. A W is a W. And in this season, we need them as much as possible. People don't realize how it was in the franchise years that scrapping and getting any win at any time was fantastic. And, winning only 18 games in a season is very, very hard to go through. Y'all don't even know how lucky we've been in the last couple of years, recent Raptor fans. You don't know what it was like to have a 20-win season and then an 18-game season. Like the first couple of years of the Raptors. Y'all are so spoiled. And we are a very good team still. And people that think that we're really shitty right now just because of certain things right now, well, you go ahead and sleep and think that because that's what people have thought about us for years, and we always prove them wrong. This year, it may not be that case, but it will happen again very, very soon. Watch. Monique saying Pascal speaking very professional with Kayla and Lindsay on the All-Star stuff. Yeah, he has to. And I mean, look, it was the same way last year about it. He got the same questions last year. And when he got snubbed last year also. It's becoming a pattern. But in some ways, I mean, I understand the justification for why he didn't make the All-Star team both years. Last year it was that he was hurt for too much of the beginning of the season. And then this year it's the team record. It really, really is that just absolutely. But listen, let's not lose hope. They may still want to give us a nod. Like there is an injury replacement. He could still get added and still be going there. We'll have to find out. Hopefully, maybe soon. But if he gets snubbed on injury replacements, then this is going to get bad. This is going to be really, really bad because they should look at his stats and understand that, like, this is crazy. Every single guy who's ever gotten stats like him has been on the All-Star team. And, a lot of people are saying this is a bias against the Canadian team. And in some ways, that really does ring true. Let's see. G saying all the trade talks and knowing that maybe a few teammates may be gone soon must be looming over them like a dark cloud. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different reasons why the vibes could be off, but I don't choose to look at this. I choose to look at fantastic work by our young players and all the bright spots. And this whole vibes check or saying that our vibes, some people are saying on Twitter our vibes are just as bad as the Nets with what's fucking going on. No, it's not. Let's talk about what Kyrie did yesterday. No, there's no way that our vibes and the things that are happening with our dumpster fire are as bad as the Nets in some ways. I mean, this dude just threw a huge fucking Molotov cocktail into their dumpster, and it is going at this point. Because listen, Nets fans have been jerked around so bad this season with like, okay, now, woo, we got it together, and woo, things are working. And oh no, Kevin gets hurt. Now they start struggling again, and Kyrie all of a sudden is chirping up that he wants to be traded all of a sudden again. Yeah, you had it good for a little while, Nets fans, but it sounds like it's all going to come crumbling down after all anyway. You know that when Kyrie leaves, Kevin will be next. And yeah, that's the other thing. Now Raptor fans are starting to circle back to their activities from last summer during the Kevin Durant shit. And this may be very weird and interesting period of time for player movement in the NBA. If Kyrie gets what he wants, there's going to be some dominoes that fall, and Kevin may be one of them. And it could very much end up that some of the deals that we were looking at last summer, well, with the way the team's gone this year, a look at Kevin Durant may be way more attractive than it was last summer. So this is very interesting. The new wrinkle with Kyrie Irving coming out yesterday saying that he wants to be traded from the Nets and that he will leave this offseason as a free agent and most likely go to the Lakers this summer. It's weird because if they tried to trade Westbrook for Irving straight up, it's Westbrook's that super max we were talking about a couple of days ago, where they all take up 105% of the salary cap of the Lakers, those 3 stars. Well, Kyrie doesn't even make enough to match up with Russell. So the Nets would have to trade another player with Kyrie to the Lakers to get Westbrook. And I don't even think they want Westbrook. And once again, that's Westbrook and Durant. And then Durant's already said, if Kyrie's not here, I don't want to play for the Nets. So this is fucked up. The Nets have had such a roller coaster of going through last summer with Kevin Durant and his shit, then Kyrie with the anti-Semitic stuff at the beginning of the season, and then him getting his act together, getting on the team, being a good citizen, and then like them rolling, them being one of the top teams in the East, and then Kevin getting hurt, and then now this. What a roller coaster for Nets Nation. In some ways, I don't envy them at all. I feel bad for them to a degree in some ways because it's just like such an emotional roller coaster for them. Yeah, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I think that part of what's going on with Kyrie is that he's pissed at them still down low because of the thing that happened earlier this season, that he was made to like bow to them and kind of have to come and be nice and say all these things to different people. And, he had a whole checklist of things that he had to do before he would be welcomed back. And, in some ways, that kind of stuff can really sour a relationship or make somebody, especially somebody like Kyrie, kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to fucking be here. And then, Kevin leaves or he gets hurt and they start losing again. It's like really bad. He's looking bad. And he's like, I'm getting older. The same kind of things Kevin's thinking about. I want to win in more championships, but this is not happening here. Yeah, it's really like a house of cards in Brooklyn, and it's just going to fall over. And it's so crazy. One of the places they're talking about with Kyrie Irving is going to the Dallas Mavericks to be the second guy with Luka. And Oren Weisfeld and other people on there are saying, yeah, you go ahead and do that. You're going to see Luka Doncic want to leave Dallas. And I was like, that's, what, that's funny, but that's pretty probably on point because Kyrie can make people want to leave places all of a sudden if you invest in him. That's why he's so toxic. It's like if you want to bring him in, he makes so much money, he will mess up your salary cap, but then he's not dependable also. So yeah, Kyrie Irving, man, you are a real toxic player to be around. I mean, we see what you're doing, bro, and I don't know why anybody would want you on your team, on their team. And we noticed that this last summer that you, Russell, and KD had a lot less interest than y'all thought you did. Y'all thought you all were like just a hot commodity and everybody's after you. Yeah, you might be shocked at how many teams do not want to have anything to do with you, Kyrie Irving. Yeah, very, very interesting. So yeah, very different kind of landscape. The Raptors very much have been in the forefront of the trade talks and the trade deadline. Well, now Kyrie is stepped into the spotlight. And in some ways I like that because I want them to kind of stop talking about us. And maybe we can just like kind of sneak through this trade deadline with the amount of trade movement that we need, and that's it, and like kind of avoid all the other stuff. Because I do think we do need to do some sort of deal, but I don't think it needs to be huge, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a huge key player. It could be like a secondary player kind of deal or something, just a little small thing in some ways. I don't know. I don't know at this point anymore. I just got to trust in Bobby Masai. Top of Top saying, good morning, Lex. I like both you and Rob. The problem is I was unsure whether we would beat Houston, and that's part of why this team needs a drastic makeover. The last 3 years have not been good. I disagree with that. And once again, there's some people out there characterizing that everything we've done since the championship, we haven't done jack shit. You're totally fucking wrong. We were the number one team in the East the year after in the bubble year when the pandemic started. At the time when the pandemic started, we were the number one team in the East, and we were kicking so much ass. This is like Montreal Expos were about to win the World Series, and then they went on strike kind of shit. That, the pandemic happened, and it really cut our momentum off when we were rolling. And in some ways, if that season had not stopped because of fucking COVID-19 or whatever, that we might have won a second championship still. We could say woulda, coulda, shoulda because the pandemic happened and we were so good at that time. So I hate this characterization that we haven't done anything in the last 3 years is bullshit. Sure, Tampa this year, but last year was a success. And we were very, very good last year. And so I won't take that. Now, I'm fine with you liking both of us. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I was a little worried about beating Houston last night too. This season's gone and nothing's guaranteed. But yeah, we took care of business, and thank God, because it would be so much worse right now. It's already bad, and we won. Like, just imagine we lost to them without Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. and how much these fucking people would be saying so much stupid ass shit. And in some ways, they sound credible because of how bad we've been. Now, I don't want to feed the fire to the people that are critical of the Raptors and giving them more evidence of proof. I want to get more proof otherwise to make them sound stupid. And that's not what's happening right now. It's too bad. Troy Henry saying, good to see you, Troy. Jump. Let me get back. Troy Henry, sir. Yes, sir. Happy Saturday, freaks. Let's go. Raps with the W. Fred and Gary were electrified. I love how many points we got from our backcourt last night. In the end, they got 61 points between the two guards. We start Fred and Gary, 61 points out of the 117 points. That is absolutely fantastic. By that two-guard combo. They were 20 of 37 from the field collectively, 10 of 20 from the three-point line, 11 of 13 from the free throw line. Yeah, just fantastic stuff by that dynamic duo of Fred and Gary. Really enjoyed seeing the work they put in against Houston last night. Scotty was weird last night. Scotty was like three-point shooter Scotty last night. He didn't really go down low. He took almost all of his shots from the outside, and he ended up making 3 threes. And I'm okay with that. I think that him and Sengun had a pretty good physical matchup, but in some ways, Scotty was tired. He didn't want to mix it up with Sengun. And in some ways, he kind of stayed out of the paint last night, and he really kind of danced around the three-point line more, which I was okay with because he actually made 3 of 7 threes. And ended up 4 of 11 for the night, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He did have 4 offensive rebounds. So once again, he's super crashing the boards and really got physical in there with Sengun at times. The points in the paint really heavily favored Houston last night. It was really, really weird how they were scoring so many points in the paint, 64 points in the paint for Houston, only 38 for us. Yeah, it was a very interesting game. Scotty showed a versatility that was a little different. And it was more three-point shooting and maybe offensive rebounds and a little bit of passing. So, yeah, we're going to keep going on this. Yeah, Click saying still not a great game. We only beat them by 6 and gave up 39 in the fourth. Yeah, but listen, once again, I've said this so many times, just win, just get the W. The only stat that matters is that W. And I know it's ugly, and I know this is part of the reason why people are so pessimistic. This has been such an ugly season all around. Can't we just enjoy a win and be happy and not like have to paint the picture of like, this is dour, this is dire? Because in some ways it's like, look, we can play a really, really good game and lose by 3 to teams like we did a lot this year. And we don't get that good feeling, but in some ways it's a moral victory. Well, this is just a victory. And can't we just enjoy it? We have not had a whole lot to feel good about and be happy about this season as Raptor fans. So please don't ruin it for us when we do actually get a win, is what I'm saying right now. But yeah, there's a lot that could be cleaned up. And thank God we were playing a shitty team that is very shitty. and it's easier to beat. Because in some ways, we need these kind of games for our team to get going in the right direction again. These easy games this February hopefully can jumpstart us back into being a better team. And sometimes you need easier opponent. You just need sometimes shitty teams to play against to get things right in the NBA, and then you can play the better teams better also. So, G saying Kyrie demanding a trade has overtaken the media now. Yeah, and rightfully so, I guess in some ways. I mean, it's New York media too, and Kyrie's just, I don't know. This is really crazy timing. And really, like I said, I feel really bad for the Nets fans in some ways. What a roller coaster they've gone through for so many years. Let's see. Top of Top saying both you and Rob come at raps from different angles, which I enjoy. He bigs them up when they play well, and when they don't, he calls them out and backs it up statistically. Yeah, that's fine and everything, but I'm just saying, like, look, he's had personal vendettas with specific players, and that's never good. And I mean, I've just heard so many negative things about him. I don't hear very many positive things about him, and that's the difference. That's the difference. But you know what? Look, you enjoy both of us coming at it from different angles. Listen, I'm not going to tell you not to watch him, and I'm glad that maybe you find value in juxtaposing my channel and his channel against each other. It is what it is. I mean, my whole problem is just like I don't want him talking shit to people's families. And like, I really want him to like let go of the Fred hate, because first of all, he's got to have to get used to him being around, because he probably will be around. And where's he going to go with this? Is he going to continue doing this for the years that he's continuing to be on our team? That's the thing. That's why you don't want to make feuds with specific players on the team, because you have no control whether they're going to be around or not. And you could just be in this feud with them for years and years. And it doesn't make you look good. But that's the thing. People got to understand. People are sick of negativity. They're sick of people being like down on things and being just like always negative, because there's so much negativity in this world and real life already, with costs up and war and stupid shit happening. People are really thirsting for a more positive, bright, good content where people are kind of uplifting. And I think that's the big difference I have with him, is that, I know in some ways I can be a little dour and a little crazy and like cussing and angry and argumentative. But in the most part, what I'm trying to do is be positive and lift people up in a world that's kind of just sad and depressing to a degree. And that's maybe part of the philosophical difference between what I'm doing and what he's doing. All right, let's keep going. Logical saying, salute real ones, Project Truth always. Decent win. A lot of Banton burn, and others saw minutes on weaker competition. Scotty's three ball is starting to look better. Yeah, his three ball looked better. A lot of Banton burn. He only got 2 minutes, but he has been playing the last 2 games, which is a good sign. And also, I like this, that Nick wasn't afraid to let the bench loose a little early and for a longer period of time against a team like Houston. We have to factor that in, that we did play the bench a little bit more than we have been recently. And then maybe the quality of play by the Raptors is suffered just slightly because we were playing those guys out there a little bit more. Who knows? I mean, Houston is a bad team for sure. They miss a lot of shots. They miss free throws. They're not good. And some people will say, well, it's too close. Stephen Silas was really trying to get them back into the game at the end. And I know 39 points in the fourth quarter looks real bad. And yeah, but we did play pretty good defense for most of the game. You look at their score, they didn't get up over 100 until very late in the game. So we did hold them down for most of the game. It's just at the very end, they were really scurrying and really trying hard, and they made up a lot of ground in the fourth quarter. But, like I said, the 30-point test was winning all game long. What did we hold them to in the first quarter? 21 points. Then they only got 27 in the second, but we scored a bunch in the second and overtook them. And then we scored way more than them in the third. They got 21, 27, and 24 for the first 3 quarters of the game. That's fantastic. That's them meeting that target of keeping the team below 30, and very much good. Very, very much good. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Scotty being a 3-point shooter last night instead of other stuff, that's interesting. And in some ways, he may flip around like that, depending on what's going on and which team we're playing. Yeah, good stuff. Click saying, I used to hate Pensera, but I realized he's been speaking facts this entire time. There's some points I don't agree with, but he's right on a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, listen, I have not looked at his stuff at all, so I don't really care. I mean, I know he came in here for a sec and he was talking in here for a little bit, a year ago or something like that. But we haven't really interacted a whole lot. It's really you guys talking about him that brings me out of talking about him. I don't like I said, my problem with him started like years ago. And I've kind of forgotten about him other than when we talk about him. I was not doing this channel yet, and I got in a huge fight with him on Facebook about him coming at Fred so hard. And he really was out of pocket and really just stupid shit he was saying. And I didn't like it because it wasn't helpful for the team. It's destructive. And that's the biggest part where I branch off from him, is that he'll push narratives and push things from his own ego, just trying to be right. And even if they may be slightly true, it's stuff that doesn't need to be put on blast and maybe put out there in super big ways, because it doesn't help anything. It doesn't help the Raptors win. And that's the big difference between me and him, is pretty much everything I say on this channel is hopefully going towards them, helping them win. And some of the stuff he makes content of is destructive, a distraction, and is not good for the team. And that's where I hate him for it. It's just like I hate Michael Grange for writing a piece about Masai Ujiri taking a job with Washington Wizards. I hate anybody who makes content that is not helpful to the Raptors. And that's where we divide, is that I don't think a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff that he does is not helpful to the team. It's like, oh, sure, you can break the numbers down and know all this shit and say, well, this is what they need to do and this is what they need to do. And I do that to a degree on this channel, sure. But a lot of this stuff, the coaches know way before us and in more detail and probably in a more factual, actual way than we do. So I don't know. You can find value in it because he's teaching you guys things, but it's stuff that the coaches already all know and they're already doing all that stuff. So I don't know. If anything, continue to watch us both and just juxtapose what's going on with us here and what's going on with him there and stuff like that. G saying not to get into it, but he also cherry picks stats and shows a lot of favor and bias towards certain players. Made some very false statements, although apparently he's gotten better with that. Well, maybe he's learning a bit. I know that Mike, with his channel, we know he's gone through a process of learning and getting better. Well, maybe everybody has their own different lessons they got to learn. Maybe Aaron Rose has heard us say, stop asking about trades with the players. You're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to get a very awkward moment where people are a little sad. And maybe, he's heard some of his criticism and he's kind of trying to change some of it. Well, that's good. That's good. And I'll commend him if he is trying to cut back on the really sensationalized bullshit that is not helpful in any kind of way. So Space Cadet saying, what exactly is he right about? That Pascal and Fred are terrible? The guy talks out of his ass. See, I love you, Space Cadet. Listen, I don't want to diss the people that are anything with Prince Air or the people that are anti. In a lot of ways, I'm with Space Cadet. I'm like, I've only heard mostly bad things. And if I want statistical analysis, I'll just go look at the stats myself and analyze it myself. I don't necessarily need him to tell me what he sees in the stats, maybe, is what I'm saying. Top saying, I heard the Trent Sr. interview, and it was similar to his previous in terms of his mindset on and off the court as a former player. You have to be focused and strong-minded. Doug Smith is a Fred stan. Yeah, and he should be. Doug Smith, I like Doug Smith standing up for the players and protecting them in the media. He did this for Vince, too, even though he had a real big problem with Vince leaving and him being a part of it all. He does pick players like this. He did this with Bosch to a degree also when Bosch was on our team. He was very much a Bosch guy in different places. Yeah, it is what it is. And I don't mind that. The Star is a different kind of paper here in Toronto. It's kind of a respected one, is maybe the best paper in the city. And, Doug should be pro the Raptors and kind of building their legend and being positive about them. So I'm no problem with him standing up for Fred. And I think more and more people should be standing up for Fred right now. His play speaks for itself. And anybody who's dissing him is just being disrespectful. This man is a champion. This man is our franchise record for most points in a game. He is so many different things for the Raptors franchise. And the people that don't like Fred, in a lot of ways, are not honoring the history of our franchise and his importance in it. I've said that a couple times, and I just agree with that. Forgetful saying, long ago in a kingdom far away, Hockey Night in Canada started the TV coverage after the first period. We listened to radio for the first period. Before my family had TV, it was radio only. That's very interesting and weird that they wouldn't show the first period, but they'd show the last two, but you had to listen to the first period on the radio. Wow, that is really weird. I didn't know that. I didn't grow up in Canada, so I don't really have hockey night in Canada as being a part of culture for me. I know that's crazy, and people may be like, "Whoa, you're not really Canadian then." Well, I really, in some ways, I am not very Canadian. I don't like beer and I don't like hockey. And a lot of people say, "Whoa, you're fucking not Canadian. Take your fucking citizenship away." Well, I'm sorry. I grew up in Florida from the age of 4 into college, and I never got to play hockey or I never got to do these things. That's why I'm such a specific Raptors basketball person. I've never been distracted by hockey and it's never played any kind of importance in my life. But that's very cool and interesting to hear about from way back that they did it that way. That's really weird and cool. I don't know exactly why they would do that. If they had the ability to broadcast it on TV, why would they shut out the first period and not show it? What if there's a really good goal in the first period or something? I don't know. That's very interesting, though. Omari saying at Click, Pensair sounds like he's trying to imitate his girlfriend complaining about him. So catty. Wow, I haven't heard him described that way. Omari Parsons, he's in the 905. If you need help finding a place to live in the GTA, Omari can help you. He rents, he can find you a rent place, and he can also help you get a mortgage on your own house. Omari Parsons, he's in the phone book. He is a great realtor. Let's see. Nako saying, because of money, I think retaining Fred is tricky. I think my biggest problem with Pensair is he's kind of petty. Kind of petty. Well, part of it is ego. You got to have a little bit of like battle your ego if you're going to do a channel or something like this. You know, I can't be like, oh, and this and this and this. You can't be like that. You're just an ordinary person. You can't be like talking down to people or being like, this and this with certain people and stuff like that. I don't know. Anyway, we've been talking a lot about Swear Jar Guy today. It's an interesting turn. But yeah, anyway, it is what it is. G saying even Giannis tested the free agency market, or Masai wouldn't have made the moves he did. Some players are just more vocal about things. DeMar took a cut and got traded the next year. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, players don't want to get burned by teams too. That's why it's so important the communication between Masai and Bobby and the players, so they can kind of understand what's coming up and what they should expect. And maybe they can even give them kind of an inclination about what they may offer to them or what they should expect as far as length of contract and maybe around ballpark money. You know, that's usually good to kind of give guys a sense of security, to kind of know what the franchise is kind of wanting to do. And throughout the history of the NBA, different front offices have been not very good at this and really bad communication with players. And it's caused them to be disgruntled and demand trades, kind of like Kyrie. But the Raptors have been really, really good since Masai's been here at keeping everybody on the same page and keeping communication very good between front office and players about what to expect in these topics. So I fully expect a lot of these guys already kind of know what might happen. Now, Gary may not, you know, because his situation's very, very could go in any kind of direction. But I'll bet you money Fred probably has a good idea about what his outcome's going to be with him. If it's not staying with the team, then it may be a little more wide open and he doesn't understand exactly where he may sign otherwise. But if it is in the plans that he's sticking around, he probably has that sense of security inside. And that may be part of the reason why he's playing so well right now, is because he knows the Raptors have got his back. And he's going to be a Raptor no matter what. Fred's been guaranteed from Masai and Bobby. They're going to take care of him one way or another. And part of it is that Fred is probably willing to work with them to get a good deal where he'll get paid fairly, but it's maybe not as much as he could get paid anywhere else. But he wants to stay here, and he's already talked to them about it. He did say at the beginning of the year he wants to be a Raptor for life. And I don't think he's flaky like other people around the league, like Kyrie Irving. I think that when he said at the beginning of the year he'd like to be a Raptor for life, he very much meant it. And it would be very weird for Fred, just like even though this season's been very difficult and challenging, for him to have changed that stance as far as things, because he's not that kind of guy. He's very steady. That's his nickname. So if he said that last summer, I'm going to believe him that his intention is to stay with the Raptors. And if Masai's intention is to keep Fred here, and they know that, and they're talking to each other, they probably all know that this is what's going on. And they just don't tell us yet, because the time will come when we will find out. Logical saying, not gonna lie, G tried to tell me about him. I just found his stuff at that time. But long story short, he was right on the crafted buzzy narratives and this bad cop style cherry picks evidence to prop up stories. Yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna do that to a degree. You can, like we said, you can get stats and they can say whatever the fuck you want. If you have a certain narrative that you want to push, whether it's in society, in science, in politics, in sports, you can find ways to support your what you're trying to say with evidence that you can just make up, in some ways. And some of it is very much cherry picking. So it is what it is. Top saying, I don't think people hate Fred. I think they don't like his role. He's not a starter, and he wasn't on the chip team, and nothing he's done the last 3 seasons, especially in playoffs, has proven otherwise. I disagree with this. The stats I'm going to cherry pick real quick are that Fred's 5 minutes stats last year. I'm not going to talk about this year, but I can talk about him more recently in this way because it's similar. But last year in particular, almost the whole entire year last year, he was one of the most statistically clutch players in the whole entire NBA. That in the fourth quarter, in the last 5 minutes of the game, his field goal percentage was super high, and he was the guy who was found. They have clutch stats that they keep track of. He was in the top 10 of all the NBA last year. So you tell me, like, he doesn't do good things and stuff like that. A lot of the games last year, he pulled us to the victory in close games by managing it and hitting huge, important threes near the end of the game. So I can't get behind this. I mean, people do straight up hate Fred. Some people just don't like him the way he rubs the wrong way. Some people think he's cocky and that he needs to be humbled in some way. Some people don't like him just because they may see things in him that they wish they'd been more like him in their own lives. There's a lot of reasons why people actually don't like him. Now, I'm sure there may be people that it's not that they don't like him. They just want a bigger player. They like Vision 6'9". They see he's the only short guy on the team, and they're like, we need to get rid of the only short guy so we can make a perfect set of 6'9" guys for a roster. And some people are coming from that philosophy. Some people think that the height thing is a really big disadvantage. And their heart is, I want to make this team better. And I see that his height makes it harder for us to win. Well, this is all bullshit. He makes it better for us to win. Trust me. He makes our team better. And I can't agree with this top. It's saying he's done nothing in the last 3 seasons is crazy. Because last year he was our most clutch player, and he was the guy who absolutely led us to a lot of the victories in a very successful season last year. And that this year he's starting to show that again right now, but it's not totally adding up to wins. But he is very much playing at a high level like he was last year right now. And he's not hurt, you can tell. So in the playoffs, we can't talk about last year's playoffs because he wasn't 100%. He was hurt. And there's other times that he's been in the playoffs. He's been huge. He was huge in the 2019 finals. And, he was very big in the bubble also. We don't talk enough about him in the bubble because we talk about how bad Pascal was and then the OG shot and maybe some other things with Mark and things like that. But we never talk about Fred and him in the playoffs in the bubble. He was actually really solid at that time. So I got to disagree top on this. Once again, Fred has been slandered in so many different ways right now. I'm going to be extra protective of him in a lot of ways right now because I don't think any of this attention that he who shall not be named and other people that hate him are putting out there is fair. That there's a lot of good things about him, and I will counterbalance that every time. So yeah, it's crazy to say he hasn't done anything for 3 years. That's crazy talk. That is absolutely crazy. G saying not on the chip team. People really need to go back and watch games in the stats. He's one-on-one kept Curry's points the lowest in the league that season. No one talks about these stats, funny enough. Yeah, it wasn't like he wasn't a very important player. In fact, he might have been our 6th man in the finals. He may not have technically started, but he played like he was the 6-man minutes, and he played a huge chunk of the time, and he was absolutely integral to us winning the championship for his work on Steph Curry, what G's talking about right here. Yeah, I think he's right. I think a lot of people need to go back and refresh their memories on Fred in different places. And the other thing is let's just look at his whole entire career. He's been a winner everywhere he's gone. He's won a G League championship. He's won an NBA championship. He went very, very far in the NCAA tournament with Wichita. So it's like, whatever. You can go ahead and think that, he's not a winner, that he's not a good player, but y'all are wrong. That his history proves otherwise. All right, let's go. Space Cadet saying, imagine saying a guy who was an all-star last year and is averaging 20 plus points since January is not a starter. Yeah, he's definitely a starter, but like I said, at some point in his career, when he gets older, maybe a step slower, he may have to be a backup point guard at that point. But for right now, the way he's playing, the way he played last night, this man is a starter, and this is a starting point guard that many, many teams in this league would be very happy to have him on. The Lakers have talked about wanting him recently. We're hearing all these other teams that really covet our guys. I think this is the stupid thing about our Raptors people get turning on the team and talking about them so bad. You don't understand how much the whole rest of the league is thirsting for so many of our different players, and how much anybody would want OG, anybody would want Gary, anybody would want Pascal, anybody would want Scotty, obviously, anybody would want Fred, that he's on that list also. You know, that like seriously, everybody in this league values Fred in some ways more than Raptors people do. I'm not even calling y'all fans anymore. I'm just calling y'all Raptors people. I know who the fans are, I know who the freaks are, and I know who the fanatics are. But I'm just going to call y'all Raptors people because I can't call you fans or any kind of level of what I just talked about. So the Raptors people that talk about Fred are talking more negatively about him than the whole rest of the entire league, the media, the U.S. media, the players and coaches of other teams. You know, the reality of the world is more with the media and those players and the rest of the league than the Raptors people with their perception of him. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. Like if they're saying in the broadcast that every other team in the league would really love to have a Fred VanVleet, I'm gonna listen to them over Mr. Whoever sitting in his basement on his computer typing some bullshit on Twitter. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm gonna listen to. I'm gonna listen to a Mark Jones. I'm gonna listen to a Paul Jones. I'm gonna listen to a Fast Eddie Johnson for Phoenix Suns. I will listen to the analysts of the other teams talk up our players in a more glowing way than people in the Raptors people in the nation. I'm not calling y'all fans no more. That's what you are definitely not fans. Forget what's saying top of top. Who topped your top? Where do you get your haircut? I don't know. Let's see. Monique's saying, happy to see Scotty shooting threes. First off night for Precious, but still finding ways to produce. 15 made threes by the team. Very, very good. Yeah, the team stats. Let's go over them real quick. And I do want to talk about Precious for a moment also. 41 for 90 from the field for the Raptors. We got 10 more field goal attempts. That's great. That's a very important stat. In fact, that is so important. The 27 more didn't matter in the last game, but every time we get more shots than the other team, we're giving ourselves a better chance. They did shoot better than us, 50% to 46%, but whatever. We made up for it. We did make more field goals. We made twice as many three-pointers as them, which is very interesting because Eric Gordon is quite a sharpshooter. And they got that guy off the bench, Chase or whatever, but they didn't make a lot of threes last night. And I'm okay with that. Us being the better three-point shooting team was very, very good. They got to the line more than us, but we did shoot a higher percentage just slightly. Not a really big difference with the free throws. The refs were a little weird. Sayesh Mehta is very annoying, and he does call some bullshit. Sean Corbin was very good. David Guthrie was okay. But yeah, the third ref was a jerk, and I knew he would be. The rebounding, we just barely won 43 to 40. But we did get 13 offensive rebounds, and that was a super key stat. 21 assists, not 25, not sharing the ball as much as I'd like. Steals and blocks, 9 and 7 for the Raptors. Those were fantastic stats. And we did win the turnover battle. They had +4 turnovers more than us, which is very, very good. Another thing I want to go back to also is this whole thing with Gary and Pascal I brought up earlier this week. There was way more evidence of them really playing together and playing on the same page with each other, and there being no problem with them freezing each other out. Once again, we saw them very much looking for each other. In fact, I think there was a break where Pascal gave it to Gary or vice versa, and it was a very much a sharing play. That's what Jack said after the play. He's like, sharing is caring. And boom, that was a really good play. And it involved Pascal and Gary on a break. And they did do a very good team-oriented sharing kind of play. And that made the signs. And a lot of what I was worried about earlier this week is going away. I don't think there's any issues with them. In fact, I can remember Gary talking about Pascal in interviews about how good he is and how he's in awe of him in a lot of ways. So I'm sorry I even brought that up. I saw something I thought I saw. Well, they've rectified it, obviously, because these guys are definitely on the same page and they are sharing the ball with each other. So I will take back anything that I said earlier this week about worrying about whether there's a rift between Gary Trent Jr. and Pascal Siakam because they don't share the ball with each other. It's just that they're both very black holes on offense. They both like to shoot a lot themselves. But I'd like to see them share between each other a little bit more because there could be a lot of good things derived from that. All right, Precious, real quick. Precious, you're saying he had an off game, and sure he did shooting wise, 2 of 7 from the field, only 9 points. But in a lot of ways, he stuffed the stat sheet once again. He did foul out, and that was a very interesting moment that happened. He missed both his threes. He was 5 of 9 from the free throw line, missing 4 free throws. At least it was Houston and it didn't matter, but I would have been mad at you if it was a more competitive team and it had hurt us really badly to win. 3 offensive rebounds, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and he fouled out. And listen, all right, I want to say this. I had no problem with the referees last night, but Precious definitely did. And a lot of it was that, like, once again, the contact is being called different at 2 different ends. And this, sure, I could say this is a ref manipulation and this is a problem. But we overcame it and we won. So I'm not going to complain about it and make it a big deal. But it was a big deal to Precious because he was getting nailed and hammered and hit all kinds of different ways. And then there were little piddly bullshit calls on him at the other end. And when he finally fouled out near the end of the game, he actually walked over to the half court and cussed the referee out and got a technical because of how pissed off he was with how they called the game versus him. On the court, they were really unfair to Precious. And in a lot of situations, Precious and Scotty are getting very, very unfair treatment with physicality. They're getting hit left and right, and they're not getting any care or whistles for it. And meanwhile, they're getting called for such bullshit on the other end. I love it that Precious cussed them out. I mean, really, really love that technical. It could have hurt us as far as the point differential, but in some ways, I'm really glad he walked back over and cussed those referees last night. Yeah, you go, Precious. Stand up for yourself and let them know this ain't cool. This is not cool. The way that y'all are treating the 2 different teams differently. It's not equal. It is not equal. All right, let's keep going. G saying last 3 playoffs. Well, his 2020 playoff stats are great. During Tampa, they didn't make the playoffs, and last season he was injured. Yeah. Pure and simple. I mean, Fred's way he's playing right now, we get him at that health level in the playoffs this year. If we make the playoffs, he will be fantastic in the playoffs. He'll race and make anybody who thinks that he's not a good playoff performer, they will get their opinion changed real quick. Nako saying Fred isn't a starter. That's crazy. I mean, in some ways, I've thought about him not being a starter on this team. Why do we start position 6'9", and he's like a small point guard specialist off the team? I mean, that's part of what I want to do with this team is like think anything's possible. And could this work in this way and be very effective? Just because somebody doesn't start doesn't mean they don't get the same amount of minutes and gets to play just as much and gets to score just as much. We did this with Gary earlier this season. He came off the bench. He got about the same minutes and he had the same production. So it's like you could have Fred be your weird 6-man point guard who comes in and steadies things after the start. If we're already starting shaky and not able to score in the beginning, Fred comes in and does what Chris Boucher does and helps us get things going. I don't know. I'm open to any ideas. And in some ways, that's an interesting idea to not start Fred and have him off the bench. But I would still say he's going to get starter kind of minutes. It's just that he doesn't technically start. And, a lot of this is another thing. This is a part of the culture of highlight culture, ESPN, and the bullshit of the NBA today is starting has become so much more important than it should be. Fuck starting. Who gives a shit? If you're at the end of the game or you get enough minutes or you make points, it doesn't matter. You look at Chris Boucher. And then the whole history of the league, not starting or starting is not as big a deal as people make it now. It's just young people now make starting such a big deal. It really isn't a fucking big deal. You can get the minutes off the bench and be a very important contributor. And starting is way more important to some people than it should be. It really, really isn't. Like, it pisses me off, honestly. It has to do with the same people that just want to watch dunk highlights on TV. They give a shit about whether people start or not. I don't give a shit about whether people start. I want people to just play well. That's all I care about. G saying Fred's 2020 playoff over 11 games, he was scoring 19.6 points per game, 6.9 assists, and 4.4 rebounds. That's a fantastic stat line. And that's in the bubble. That's the bubble stat line for when they were playing in Orlando. Yeah, that sounds about right. Isaac saying, Fred looked good to start the season. I think he's even better now. Yeah, well, I mean, in the beginning of the season, he had his ups and downs. We know that he got hurt for a little bit there. He had his back problem. He got kind of like a Macho Man Randy Savage elbow from Brooke Lopez or Robin, one of those Lopez idiots. There have been bumps and bruises that Fred had earlier in the season that kind of threw off his shot for a while. That we remember we were really analyzing his shot and why it wasn't working. Well, he's figured it out, and he's just like Chris. He has one of the weirdest rotations. Like if you notice some of the threes he made last night, they're spinning all kinds of weird ways. It's like Chris Boucher's shot spins like horizontal, and Fred's kind of does a diagonal like spin like this. It's really weird, but it's effective, and that's all that matters. And Nick Nurse's style with shooting with these guys is do whatever's natural and works best. Go with it, even if it's not really fundamentally right. Because like Chris Boucher's 3-point shot is not fundamentally good. It is not fundamentally good. And in some ways, Fred's isn't either. All right, Lion Hunter is saying, I genuinely don't understand how you can watch Raptors basketball and conclude that Fred is a bench player. What are you watching? I know. I mean, I'm not saying that for sure. I'm kind of like looking at it from like, well, what would that be like? And how would that work in a way that it makes sense because of the caliber he is? Because you still have to feature him. And obviously he'd be like your sixth man. It would be very similar probably to the championship run, the way his role in that team. And, you just have 5 starters and he's a guy who comes off the bench as the first point guard. Yeah. I mean, I agree with this. I think that you're right that in the place where he is on the team currently, it's too crazy to bring him off the bench. I really do think that that's right. Okay. Denal saying, okay, 2 things. I think most of the Fred hate was just because he was playing selfish ball. The way he's playing now is much better. 2, Dillon hit him in the Dillon hit him in the nuts. I'm glad Denial is getting my South Park Cartman reference here. And then I was wondering if anybody's going to get it if I keep saying, you hit him in the nuts. Oh man, he really did. And it was like funny. It's like he's laying on the ground. He's like, let me just wow, yeah. It was honestly, in some ways, I don't like Cleveland and I don't like Donovan Mitchell, and I like Dillon Brooks because he's Mississauga 905, baby. And in some ways, Memphis Grizzlies is still kind of like the Grizzlies of Vancouver. And in some ways, I do root for them still because of their roots here in Canada. So in some ways, I really am a Dillon Brooks fan right now. Like I know he's been an asshole to us, but knowing that he's best friends with Chris Boucher and that he's kind of a really cool guy in person, it's just he's a real villain on the court. He's really starting to get like Bill Laimbeer vibes for me. And in some ways, I'm so here for it. Especially as like, listen, I know it's like not nice to hit people in the genitals, but in some ways, it's just hilarious to me. And it's not like he really hurt Donovan. I mean, come on. That was a glancing blow. And we know Donovan Mitchell's going to do like a football reaction. Ooh, and really overdo it. And then like he attacked him right afterwards. So it's just hilarious. It's hilarious. I love that whole part. The Fred hate, they look and perceive that they think that Fred is selfish on the court or not giving the ball to people. Yeah, there have been times like in the last few years where he's had to carry us and he may seem like he's taking too much of the ball handling and scoring and not looking for other people. Sure, I could see where people could see that, but that's not a consistent like all the time thing with him. He very much mixes everything up. And the fact that he's like totally a ball hog, that any kind of moniker for Fred for that's absolutely crazy. Because he's honestly, if you look at his stats for his career and like year in, year out, he's usually in the top 20 of assist leaders, if not near the top 10 or in the top 10. He's been like a very high assist producer for most of his NBA career when he's had starters minutes. So, yeah, I don't get it. Forgetful saying, I'm curious to see if any team is stupid enough to take Kyrie, maybe a team in Moscow. Listen, Kyrie, you don't want to go to Russia and play pro sports there. You can just talk to Brittany Griner. You do not want to go to Russia. I don't think anybody's going to want to go to Russia and play there anymore. This is going to be similar to when Bruiser Brody was murdered in Puerto Rico in 1988 in wrestling. And Bruiser Brody was murdered by another wrestler in the locker room. Well, all the American wrestlers decided we're not coming back to Puerto Rico ever again because of what happened to Brody. And well, Russia, that's how your sports leagues are going to be now with what you did to Brittany Griner. I don't think anybody's coming to Russia to play basketball there anymore, men's or women's. So yeah, you're going to just have to find your people. If you have any people left from not sending them over to that stupid illegal war that you started in Ukraine. So you go ahead. I don't think Kyrie, Kyrie could do with Stephon Marbury, though. He could be a Starbury over there, Kyrie. He could do that. I could see that. That's kind of what happens to dudes like them. That they kind of just are assholes, and everybody's like, you're too much of a headache here. We don't want you. You got to go play in China now, bro. I'm sorry. Kyrie, you may be having to go to China soon. Watch. Yeah. Don't go to Russia, though. No. Unless you want to be in the gulag. Yeah. The helpful entrepreneur is here. Morning, amigo. Morning to you, the helpful entrepreneur. I don't even know what you're doing, but I want to plug you right now. Listen, he is an entrepreneur or she. They are a person that want to help you with your endeavors. The helpful entrepreneur is here for you. Go check out their YouTube channel. I'm not even sure what's on it. I'm just endorsing this blindly because I love the title of this person's name in the chat. And listen, this is what we do here. If you put me on blast, I'll put you on blast. Helpful entrepreneur. He will help you with your entrepreneurship. Yeah. Good morning, amigo, to you. Yes. G saying any point guard on this team will have issues finding balance. This team doesn't have shooters, therefore the point guard has to shoot. Gary is the other shooter. Teams clog the paint, so passing inside is not easy. Yeah, I think this is true. And I love that G is giving more evidence to stand up for Fred and why he plays the way he plays. I think this is very true. We don't have enough good shooters. And in some ways, he's one of our best shooters, so he has to step up and be that shooter. And that really is the biggest thing that Fred has to deal with is balancing his own selfish scoring with looking for his other teammates. And in some ways, he's way more capable at making the score at times than the other teammates. And it should take him on his shoulders, and he carries us and goes and scores for us in some of these instances. I think the problem is that some of these people don't like, and they say he's selfish when he's not successful at scoring a lot of these baskets. If he has a very poor shooting night, like he shoots 5 for 25 for the game, people will start saying he's too selfish. He's taking too many shots, and they think he's taking shots he shouldn't be taking because he missed so many. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Is whether he shoots well or not. Monique is saying Kia Nurse sees a small trade, nothing major in the pregame. Yeah, so they're saying that a lot of experts are saying the Raptors will probably not make huge waves. They may make just a small move. I think I've heard a lot of people echoing that opinion of insight as far as what to predict for the Raptors around this trade deadline. Once again, we think they're going to do so much, and they do just a very little usually. That's usually the case. G saying Masai doesn't like the pressure of trade deadlines and being on other people's schedule is what a commentator said. Don't be surprised if it's just small trades. Yeah, exactly. This is part of how he gets power. And who he is and what he does in the league is that he's not kowtowing or panicking or doing things because of negative situations. He understands the wisdom in not reacting when you're in a bad place. I've said this a lot in the last week or so, that in your own life, if you're having bad things happen in your life, like the Raptors are happening to their team right now, you don't want to make any emotional decisions or decisions about your life, big life-altering decisions when you're in a bad state of mind. That it's a really bad place. Your logic may not be sound because you're so negative and such a bad mindset because of the bad situation that you may make a mistake that makes things even worse for you in your life. So that's why they say don't ever make huge life decisions when you're depressed or sad, or when you're very, very much up and like on cloud 9, like you just won the lottery. So you want to be very even-minded. And I think in some ways, Masai is like looking at the whole situation as this is a stressful panic situation where there's pressure for me to do something. Well, I understand that this is not the time to do something just because of that, but I can do something if it's sound and it makes sense in a logical way, besides all the panicked energy to make me do something. I think this is really the way he's got to look at it. And I think it's the way you safeguard from making a panicked mistake as a GM or a team president. So, yeah, I think that you're right. And the commentators are saying this. I mean, we're just going by his track record. And the fact that everybody wants trades during the trade deadline, well, the amount of trades that happen around the trade deadline are a lot less than people always expect. And that the stats show throughout the years, trade deadline stuff is not a flurry of activity like everybody expects often. And I think that this may be the case also this trade deadline with us. It may be not enough for some people, and they may be really pissed off because they're expecting some sort of huge deal or a huge thing to happen. And it may not. It'll be weird. Top saying, I view Fred as a six man on a championship team. That's fair. That's fair. Nothing wrong with that. He can shoot, but his game struggles in the half court, which is the dominant form of play in the playoffs. I think in the past, maybe his struggle in the half court, but he's getting much better at the half court recently. And I think that part of it is because Scotty's around all of a sudden. There's a new way to derive open shots because of Scott's presence on the court. And then Fred is finding maybe easier to play off of Scott. And if Scott is there and he can find open guys with just a really quick no-look pass or just a really quick over there, that helps the half-court offense get more easier shots. I can tell what you're saying. Like, Fred would carry the ball, he'd hold it too long, wait too long, and then he'd try and do some one-on-one move against the defense at the last second. And that usually wasn't a good shot attempt. But I'm just saying, I think that because we have a new personnel around him, at times in the past, maybe he stagnated in the half-court offense. But I think with the new weapons emerging on the team, that's getting easier. And that may not necessarily be what's trending at this point, that he is better at half-court offense just because he has better weapons next to him to find that will help also cultivate open looks too. So I would say that. Max is saying, let's build on this win. I'm all about it. Max, you know what? Come in here with that positive Raptor freak comment right there. I've wondered about you at times, but when you say something like that, man, you just get that Robert Redford meme look from me. You go, Max. I love it. Tom Duke's loving it too. He's giving you the 100%. And let's go. And the five Raptors are standing there with Max Minahan. I love that comment, Max. That's your best comment I've ever seen you make. I love that so much. Let's build on this win. That's the right attitude. G saying he was the sixth man 4 years ago when he was 24 and he still had huge impact. Check out the stats. So who on the Raptors doesn't struggle on the half court? Yeah, it's true. It's kind of a team symptom, and it's kind of hard to just say one player. But the thing is, we've gotten better in the half court actually in the last 2 years. We were really, really bad, but we struggle still at times. But I think we are getting better in the half court offense. We just are being forced to, and we just have to. And that's a huge area that we can improve, and then things will get better. Randolph saying, blessings, beloved Raptor Freaks, most informative gang. We won last night. We wow last night. Nurse did what we were hoping he did in previous games, make changes when things aren't going right. Yeah, he saw the flatness of the game, and he pulled that curtain real quick and got Chris out there immediately. And Malachi got out there pretty early too, and Christian. And I thought that they were all pretty interesting to come in at when they did, because they did help jumpstart our offense from doing nothing. I hated seeing 9-0. That's the kind of stuff that people down there don't need to be seeing, because it really does feed this legend of the Raptors being a shitty poverty franchise. And I don't want us to be that. We're not that. We're definitely not that. We got a good culture we got to preserve through this hard year. Let's see. And I think that, Nurse did a way better job with his bench and the minutes and just the decisions. In fact, we saw some of what I've been saying as far as mixing and matching starters with bench a lot more. I don't think there was any period of time where there wasn't two starters out on the court last night. There was always at least two starters and maybe three bench, but that's exactly what you should be doing, Nick. And the way that you do it longer throughout the middle, like you do it a little earlier in the first quarter, like you had to, because you had to panic and do that because of the bad start. But that earlier happening sets you up more to eat up more of the starters' minutes throughout the whole entire game. And really good job by Nick. I can't be upset with him. I'm not going to call him today, because the last time I called him, I think he was mad at me. Rorschach Test is saying, I like Kyrie. If I was compiling a team, Kyrie would be part of my dirty dozen. Just needs to find the right supporting cast. Listen, I won't deny he is a top 75 player in the history of the NBA. The way he plays, the way he does stuff on the court is fantastic, but it's just everything else, bro. And in today's NBA, everything else matters. You know, the court, you could be absolutely the best player in the whole entire league, but if you have a toxic around you in general, you're not going to win. The NBA does not, teams that are toxic in some certain ways down low do not win. The Suns lost in the finals partly because of their toxicity, whether it's Chris Paul's feud with Scott Foster or the cesspool of the front office was at that time. That in some ways it informs as to why they came up short against the Milwaukee Bucks that year in the championship. You know, that's what I'm saying. There's underlining cesspools of toxic. And that's why I've never taken the Brooklyn Nets seriously as a top contender in the league the last couple of years, because they've had a toxic cesspool of their players for a while. And with that, you can't win with toxic on your team. And that's why he's on a no-fly zone to come to the Raptors organization and be on our roster. I do never, ever, ever want Kyrie Irving on this team. He's a sideshow, and he will hurt your team even if he's your best player on your roster. Yeah, let's keep going. Lion Hunter is saying, top of top, you can make that case about anyone in the starting lineup. None of them are experts in the half-court game. We haven't had that guy since Leonard. That's on roster construction, not Fred. I think that's kind of selling us short to a degree, with all fairness, though, Lion Hunter, that we do have some guys that are actually pretty good at. You know who's really good at half-court offense? Precious. And you know why? It's because he has a first step that is so lightning quick. It doesn't matter if we're set up in half court. He can go right into like a transition pace with an instant step. And in some ways, he's a very good half court player because he makes room and attacks the basket whether we're set up or not. He doesn't have to be in transition to get going. And in some ways, Scotties like this too. Like they can attack the rim in half court in a way that is making it them good half court players. So I would argue against saying that anyone in our team is not good at half court. I think in specific, there's a history of Siakam and Van Vleet being used so much in half court and not having success that we could say they're not very good half court players in some ways, but they're better. They've gotten better. That we could have said that may have been an opinion to have about the Raptors half court offense maybe like a year or a year and a half ago, and that they've improved and gotten better at this point. They really have. I mean, people may not agree with me because of how bad our offense has been this year, but in a lot of ways, they're cultivating much better stuff on the half court offense than they did like a year ago. So and a lot of it has to do with Precious and Scotty once again. So let's see. Denial saying, Forgetful saying, Denial, Fred follows the coach's game plan. He would not be given 38 minutes if otherwise. Yeah, that's the thing. In the beginning of the season, he didn't necessarily like being the off shooting guard and not being the point guard and having more control over the team's destiny. In fact, in some ways, he probably was very frustrated when they were telling him, you know, you're going to be the shooting guard. And he wanted to control the game because he saw us floundering and he wanted to revert to his old role of being that guy. And he knew that would be going against the coach's wishes. So in some ways, his hands were tied. He knew that he could help us, but he couldn't step into that role because Nick didn't want him to. Well, he told him, he relented. And he was like, you know what? We do need you, Fred, to be our point guard at some point during the season. And that's part of it right there, is that he is really much following the instruction of whatever Nick wants him to do. And that if Nick told him to start doing this differently, we'd see him doing that. So he is listening to him. And that's part of the reason why Fred is stand up for by Nick so much, is because he's one of his players that listens to him and does what he says. So there you go. That's part of the whole dynamic of Fred's season this year, and the difference between starting the year with the mindset of coming in the season as a shooting guard to having to be going back to a point guard to save us and doing what he's doing now. La 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 la. All right, let me see. Top saying, gee, exactly. Fred was a six man, and if he stays on the team transitioning into his 30s, that would be his ideal role, similar to what his role was in the chip run, 25 to 30 minutes against certain matchups. See, this is all right. This is great. We've come from two different directions with Top, and we've kind of finally met, and we do agree. I agree with what Top's saying here, that it's just natural. A guy his size and what he's done in his career already, at some point he will be relegated back to the bench. And I think that this is completely fair what Top is saying right here. That we just were kind of looking at it from a different perspective from the opposite directions. But in a lot of ways, Top's exactly on the same page with us. It's just saying it a little bit different about Fred. I think him saying him is not a starter is technically true. He was the sixth man in the championship run. So that in some ways that may be a role that he reverts back into in his 30s is what he's saying. And that's fair. That's completely fair. And I think that that's accurate if he's going to stay on the Raptors for a long time. That Fred needs to be ready to become like that grizzled veteran point guard off the bench helping us. And in some ways, that may mean we're in a very, very good place because we can afford to have him off the bench and he can be that point guard that everybody's calling out for right now, that we need a really good backup point guard off the bench that can control a game when the starters aren't in. Well, there you go. In some ways, he could be that guy down the road, but not right now. He's too good, and we're not ready. We don't have another point guard that can do things better than him, or at least at the same level. Isaac saying Fred would be an all-star on a lot of teams, but he is a Raptor. I don't know. This year, we can't say that he did an all-star level because he did have a very much a struggle period in the early part of the season where it was the role and different things. It's just very much recently that he's been playing an all-star level again right now. But for 2 months of the season, he has not played at an all-star level. And he would say that himself. He said, I got to play better. And he was saying that at that time. G saying, absolutely do not agree with you, Top. They would not be winning any games without Fred starting right now. Other teams are not wanting to trade for Fred to sit him on the bench. I think Top clarified that like he understands that Fred would start now, but he's just saying later on he transitions. I think that's part of it. But I agree with what G's saying here. We wouldn't be winning without Fred, at least. At any of the games we have been playing recently that we won, Fred has absolutely been essential to those wins. Mike saying, forgetful, that's the facts of how much or little Fred VanVleet has the ball. Coaches' game plans are followed to help the other guys develop in a morphing read and react system. Yeah, Fred's really good at following the coach. And it's not like he does stuff that he doesn't want to do because the coach told him to. He may want to do something different in his mind, but he understands the hierarchy of who's in charge and what he needs to do because, you get punished if you don't listen to the coach. So obviously what he does on the court is very much directed by Nick for the most part, or at least okayed to have the ability to make the decision because we trust you in those decisions also. Let's see. Denal saying, forgetful. I doubt Nurse wanted Fred to take some of those horrible shots. If he did, then he's a problem too. We need to get out of this ISO ball. It disengages other players. I'll agree with the second part of what they're saying, but Nick is weird. Like, I know that he has like general, like okay with different shots. He'll look at a different shot and say, well, was it open? Did he get a good look at the basket? Then he's okay with it. Now, Fred took a shot that just missed, but it was a good look. Then I'm sure Nick won't have any problem with it. And that may be what they're saying. He has the green light. And Fred has a green light that goes almost all the way out to half court. So it's not like they're bad shots. They just don't go in sometimes. Every time Fred shoots is not a bad shot. It's usually very much intended. And I know that people may think, oh, that's a horrible shot for him to take. No, not usually. It's usually that he just misses a open shot. But for most of the part, I think Fred is like very, very smart with his shot selection. In fact, he's got to read whether he's taking a three or when he needs to pass or when he needs to drive and try and make a crazy layup. So he's trying to read everything and read and react, just like Mike was saying, to what's happening with the defense right in front of him at all times. And sometimes they give him a little bit of daylight. He does need to take the green light and shoot it because he is a very good three-point shooter. So I don't call anything that Fred does with shots right now horrible. Maybe earlier in the season when he was missing a lot and his shot mechanics were messed up, yeah, they were horrible shots, but they're not right now. Every shot he's taken is looking right, and I wouldn't call those horrible shots. Maybe early in the season he had them, but not now. Forgetful saying, you're too young, Lex, to have experienced the radio TV mix. I guess I am. This is good. This is good for me. I'm not dissing you, Forgetful, but I do enjoy that there are older people that are on this channel than me. I don't want to be the oldest person. Thank you, Tom, and Forgetful. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I guess I am too young for the radio TV mix. That's interesting. That's so interesting and bizarre to me. If you have the capabilities to just show it on the TV, why wouldn't you do the whole time? Was there like cost of we can't show all three quarters? I mean, all three periods. We got to just cut the first period off to make sure we can afford this. Okay. What if the game's decided in the first? I know it never is, but what if like all the scoring is in the first period of the hockey game and there's no goals for the last two periods and you had to hear them? So weird. Rorschach Test is saying, when I watch Pensera, I feel like I've been to a funeral. Conversely, when I watch you, I feel like I've been to a rave. Hell yeah. Hey, what's your sign? I don't know. I probably mixed up the 70s with asking the sign with a rave from the 90s. Well, I appreciate that compliment, Rorschach Test. It does mean a lot from somebody who has such a cool name, too. Listen, hey, all right, go ahead. You want a funeral? Go see a funeral, man. You want to have a fun time? You come and see the Raptor Freak, baby. That's right. I do impressions. All right, let's see. Monique is saying Memphis has been all right, I hear, apparently. Contain Morant well, a total team effort. I know I'm ahead. She's just looking ahead. She's anxious. She wants to see more Raptors basketball. We're going to Memphis tomorrow. Beale Street, baby. Let's go and see what's going on there with these fucked up cops doing fucked up shit in Memphis. Yeah, that's fucked up what happened there. But listen, basketball wise, we know Dillon Brooks has been suspended for the game tomorrow for the nut shot on Donovan Mitchell. And, I'm not upset with that, but Grizzlies have been playing well to an extent. They've been doing very well. They have two All-Stars, Jaren Jackson Jr. with Ja Morant. And this is interesting. Like, the Memphis fans, they did a poll on the fans in the league about the All-Stars, and 90% of the Raptor fans thought that Siakam was going to make the All-Star team, and that the person who compiled the stats are saying that the Raptors fan nation is the most upset with their player being snubbed because we all expected Pascal to be on the All-Star team. Well, in the reverse, Jaren Jackson Jr. making the All-Star team is the biggest surprise because nobody in Memphis thought he would be an All-Star, and that statistically, they said like 18% of people thought that he should be an All-Star in the Memphis market. That's not even across the whole NBA. That's the Memphis fans. Only like less than 20% of them thought he should be an All-Star. And look, this man's an All-Star. It's crazy. Like, I was like scratching my head. I'm like, Jaren Jackson Jr., really? I mean, really? It's weird. It's a weird one. That may be the weirdest All-Star pick for me. And Memphis fans even think so too. Crazy. All right, let's see. Top saying part of the reason, apart from the money, that Pascal and Fred want to stay is because they would not be the number one and number two players, respectively, on top tier teams. Very integral, but number one and number two on the. You know what? I'm going to disagree with this, Top. I've been agreeing with you a little bit, and the little bit of going back and forth we're doing here. I don't think that they care about that as much as you think. I mean, in some ways, sure, maybe they do, but in some ways, you know what? Pascal, he may be very happy to have somebody step up and be the number one on the team, and him going back to being like how it was with Kawhi on this team. That a lot of the pressure goes off his shoulders. He can breathe easy, and he can probably play just as well and do his amazing things, but next to somebody who's a little bit better and takes more of the pressure off of him. I don't know if like that matters to these guys. I think that, Fred, his role and number where he's important on the Raptors, as far as like he's the sixth man, he's the guy who's like the third option, the fourth option to the second option, the first option. It morphs, and it's not even like a game to game set thing. It's like Gary could be sitting in the second option, or OG, or Scotty, and that sometimes Fred is maybe like the fifth option on any given night. So I think distinguishing being the designated first or second option overall is kind of silly with the Raptors. Now, sure, we could say Pascal straight up the first option. That's very clear. But the second option is not. You could say that Scotty, Precious on some nights recently, OG, Gary, these guys are the second option to a degree, or the third option. And Fred, in some ways, not recently, because Fred's been stepping up and making big scores. But in some ways, on some nights, you could say that Fred's not the second option. He could be very much the fourth option even. So I don't know. I don't think any of this factors into whether they're thinking about this. I think that they're good players. They'll get used in certain ways. It may be true that if they went to other teams like Celtics or Warriors or something like that, that they wouldn't be like the number one option, as you say, but they would still be getting used at a very good high level. And it may not matter to them as much as you think, that label. I don't think that it does as much. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Free Crew. Tuning in late. Glad we got the W. I feel bad for our team. All the trade talk sucking their spirits. I'm so gutted. I know, Cool Cat, earlier in the stream, I wanted to tell everybody in Raptors Nation, stop treating last night like it was a loss. We won. We should be very happy. We got another W, y'all. But everybody's trying to act like this is like somebody said, a funeral. Josh Lewenberg has a picture on his Twitter of the Raptors bench, and he says the caption vibes. Bad vibes or the vibes, and they just look like they're down on their luck. Whatever. I understand this is tough, and you're probably right. The trade talk is sucking their spirit out and just making them feel really down and stuff. You know what? We got to stay bright. They won the game. We won. We got to be happy at least for that and celebrate it, even if it's Houston and the way it was. Maybe sad because it was very even and they're not a good team, but we still need to celebrate when we get wins to celebrate. So I'm not being negative about the game in any kind of way, even if it looked like the team was very sad last night. I hope they were happier today. It was like, we won. We can practice. Now we get to go play Memphis tomorrow. All right, let's see. Nameless is all right. This is good. I'm glad he's keeping track. You all owe me $16.43, please. I'm going to send my uncle Vince to collect. If you don't want to see Vince with 3 missing fingers. Ooh, this is serious now. See, Nameless, he's Italian. He has an Uncle Vince, and I'm sure he's somebody who knows how to get results. He really knows how to make a persuasion, an argument. 1643 sounds fair, and that sounds about right. We did talk about this dude a lot today, and we shouldn't have. That Robert Pensera is not someone we talk about, and there is a swear jar here, and Nameless is coming to collect. And we don't want to collect with body parts. We better just put that money in there for them and stop talking about he who shall not be named. And then we won't get a tab at the end of the stream. David's saying, bring on the L's. David's aboard. Come on, man. This is a positive Raptor space. We're going to play Memphis tomorrow. We got a chance. If we beat Memphis tomorrow, they're a top team in the Western Conference. They got a lot of good players. We could feel real good if we beat them. Plus, we will have won this road trip and be 4-3. It's not over till it's over, baby. Lenny Kravitz, Gary Trent Jr. lookalike. Listen, it ain't over till it's over. We got to win tomorrow, and then we'll be 4-3 on the West Coast trip. That's a successful winning trip. It's not all done yet. We're 3-3. So let's see how we do against Memphis. Sure, it's a tall order, but it can be done. Precious loves playing in Memphis. That's where he played college. And when we played in Memphis last season, they kicked some major ass and won in Memphis. So it's not like we can't go in there and win in there just because they've only lost 4 games and they're building all season. They have a very good home record right now. But I believe in us. Precious loves playing in his alma mater city of Memphis, where he went to college. And he might have a big game. If you remember that game last year, he hit a bunch of threes to help us beat the Memphis Grizzlies on their own court. So, yeah, I want to see it. I'm not going about bringing on the L's. Come on, David. You're better than that. Come on, Raptor Freak Trivia Champion David. Come on now. Space Cadet is saying this now, and I really like Space Cadet. Space Cadet is one of my favorites. Let me see. What's Space Cadet saying? Whoa, it really filled up. When I watch Pensera, I feel like I'm watching the Raptors' Tucker Carlson. That may be comment of the day. That may be pretty apropos. Tucker Carlson just recently said that he wants the U.S. to invade Canada to liberate us from Justin Trudeau's tyranny. This is crazy. And you know what? There's people in the Canadian government that are coming after Tucker Carlson for such an out-of-pocket, fucked up thing to say. It's dangerous rhetoric and saying stupid shit like this. Maybe harmless and kind of laugh at. But, there's stupid ass, crazy motherfucking Americans that will get behind him on this stance and push it even further. So I'm really glad that the Canadian government is trying to repudiate him and say something about this. But of course, our idiot conservative party here is blocking it and saying, no, we kind of agree with him. What the fuck is wrong with you, Canadian conservatives? You're seditionists. If you believe what Tucker Carlson's saying right now, then you're against our government here in Canada. You want to overthrow the Canadian government with the help of the U.S. government? Fuck you, PC party. You're fucking crazy. You were fucked in the head. What a great compliment to Pensair that he is Tucker Carlson of Raptors world. I love it. Oh, score one for Space Cadet. Man, I might have to start doing this with this channel. That you guys get points for huge, great comments. This may make it a very gamemanship kind of game. And I might give you guys points and me may keep score because I'm getting gems today. And I feel like I should reward y'all for this. So maybe we'll start a new thing. There's a couple of new things we kind of got in the works on this channel. Tom Duke has realized and figured out that we can run polls during the live stream. So be ready. At some point, we may start doing daily polls during the live stream that y'all can vote on and we will talk about. We'll figure out good questions that are for the day as far as what's going on. And then we'll get you guys to fill out the poll during the live stream. So that is something that could happen. And I am very inspired by Space Cadet's comment here to award points. And that maybe we will do a point standing for fantastic comments. And who knows what we'll cultivate from the creativity of y'all in the comments section, knowing that you can get points for being funny or original. So yeah, I like this idea. We may start this very soon. So we'll see. I don't know, think about more and maybe how I'll do it. And then I'll present it to you guys when I'm ready. Blackhawk saying Nick Nurse played 10 deep, so I am good with the game. Minutes were managed and players did not look exhausted. Just a poor start. Yeah, just a poor start. And yeah, they got in early and there were 5 guys in off the bench very early. It wasn't like he waited and played one of them later. We got 5 guys in quickly. And I was all about that. And I completely agree with Blackhawk on the statement here that Nick did a good job. And it was really nice to not see our guys so tired on the court and being effective to close it out. Because as much as we hate it, Houston did get close. Being a shitty team, and I didn't like seeing that. And in some ways, if they were a better team, we probably would have lost yesterday. But we got to take the win while we can. We really do. G's saying, I noticed this game, Scotty was avoiding contact more and shooting outside, where Sengun was playing through contact. You're talking about the refs allowing teams to be physical on them is probably why. So he adjusted his game. Yeah, I think this is exactly hitting the nail on the head here, G, as far as things. It's like maybe he read that it's not worth it to mix it up with Sengun because the refs are signaling that they're not going to respect him and give him any credit for taking contact. So in some ways, this is kind of how they teach young players to get out of being a physical player because they know they don't, they're going to take the brunt of a lot of crap and they don't get any fairness in it. So they're like, why the fuck should I even play as a physical player? It could be that the NBA is trying to train Scotty to not be such a stud physically down low by not rewarding him, rightfully so, with fouls when they are actually happening. And Scotty may be like, yeah, I don't like this trend. I want him to continue to mix it up and fight for the respect. And you will get it down the road. It's just right now it can be very like, frustrating. It can be very like, you know what, I earned this, or this isn't good. This is what you got to be like, Scott. Usually nothing's going to be given to you. And it may be very unfair and you may not get the calls that you should be getting, but you got to keep going. Eventually you will get better calls. Chris Boucher went through this to a degree. You should talk to Chris about this. He can tell you how to cultivate better calls with the refs, because he's had a lot of success with this in the last year. So, I think this is exactly right. That maybe because of Sengun's presence down low, Scotty stayed around the 3-point lane because he is a very physical player too. In fact, they have a lot of similar skill set near the basket, Scotty and Sengun. It's very, very interesting. I think he totally adjusted for that. And it may be also that he's taken some licks recently where you can tell maybe he's a little bit hurt in some areas of his body. Like Fred last night was he was doing this motion at one point on the court. And I thought he was trying to distract a 3-throw shooter for the Rockets. It looked kind of like, but it was really that he was trying to stretch his arm out that's in the arm sleeve. Once again, these guys have nagging injuries we don't hear about. And it could be that Scotty didn't want to get down low because he's a little banged up. And he knew Sengun would do that to him. By the way, love the hat, Lex. Laugh out loud. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Tirana, baby. I don't know if it's actually a Raptors official hat, but it's got the right lettering for old Raptors font. And it's got the right colors. So let's see. Nuts. Hit him in the nuts. Yeah, he hit him in the nuts. Hey, Adriana. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You're all right? She's just come in and say hi. You're okay? Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm going long. It's all good. All right, I appreciate it. All right, Ken A saying laughing my ass off at Space Cadet about about that comment about that's a great comparison by Space Cadet, honestly. MSJ's here. Good morning to MSJ. A great Raptor freak who's been frequenting lately. A decent win last night. I say it's decent. I would say it's like some people are saying it's a bad win, even though it's a win. Some people are saying, yeah, you can't really say it's an outstanding, wow, what a great win. I'm so on cloud nine about it. But also, we need to realize it is still a win. So that's important. Top saying, gee, those Fred 2020 stats are skewed as KD and Kyrie were out. The truer test was the Boston series where his percentages tanked and he struggled. No shade. He just struggles with length. All right. I mean, once again, the one thing I do on this channel is sure, there may be negatives and there may be things about the players, but I like to not look at those as much and really pump them up. And I don't want to put on their possible weaknesses on blast. And that's the difference also between me and he who shall not be named. Is that sure, I can recognize that there's problems and I may bring them up and be constructive criticism about it, but I don't want to put them on blast and say, yeah, this is an issue. I mean, obviously, his height is always going to be a disadvantage with tall people. That's always going to be the case, but he makes up for it in so many other different ways. And I don't know, that Boston series was very tough and defensive minded, and it was a grind, that 7-game series against Boston in the bubble. And I think that everybody's stats on that team at the time were just a little bit lower just because of the defensiveness and the grind of that battle. So I don't know if that's totally fair to look at either. All right, let's see. Cool Cat's saying we only need a good center for this core at least to finish the season. Then off season get bench health. Yeah, I like that plan. I think that that's a good plan for short term and long term. We definitely want more bench. And yeah, you know what? Listen, Ayton, if Ayton shows up on our team in the next week, this could be very, very interesting end of the season. Let's just put it that way. If we have DeAndre Ayton in a Raptors jersey next week, this could become a very, very interesting season. This could really change things quickly. G saying, you said the last 3 years in playoffs. So that year in on the last 3 years, they did make it during Tampa. So that leaves last year when he was injured. Can't say 3 years, then make excuses. It's all good. We're just arguing semantics. It is whatever. We know Fred. Other people can see Fred in their own way. I think that Fred's great. And you look at what he's doing right now. That's all you should be looking at. Who cares about what he did 3 years ago? Who cares about what he did last year? Let's only worry about what he's doing right this minute because it's all that really kind of matters. Let's see. Paul's saying, I'm having delusions of grandeur that we can trade for KD and still win the chip this year. Paul B, that's not a bad way to think. Honestly, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. It's not probably likely, though. I don't know if the Nets are ready to just capsize their ship just because Kyrie did what he said yesterday. It could very well be that they're not going to work with him. They're going to hold him till the end of the season. They had no reason to want to trade him other than him saying it. And, they really thought they were going to try and make a good run for a championship this year. And now he's doing this shit. And it's kind of funny. Now, it won't happen fast enough for it to happen this year, Paul. I think it's very unlikely that Kevin Durant will end up on our team and we'll be able to win a championship with him this season. But if Kevin Durant may be the domino that falls in the offseason, if Kyrie ends up getting moved soon because of his demand. So that's interesting. I think Kevin will leave if Kyrie does get his wish. And that's the thing that the Nets have to deal with right now. Is like they could have a disgruntled Kyrie and hang on to him, but he's going to leave in the summer anyway. And then it's going to fall apart anyway. And Kevin will probably demand a trade then. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I love your delusions. And you know what? I'm okay with it at this point. Last year there was a big debate about whether we should get Kevin Durant or not. Well, in the shape that we've been in that now, I'm firmly on this side that is like, you know what? We can get Kevin Durant somehow, some way. Maybe we should try and do it. In some ways, not for Scotty, obviously. The Scotty thing was stupid the whole time. But, getting Kevin Durant on this team paired with Scotty, it could be very interesting. Very, very interesting. Denal saying, yes, you can at G. Pensera does it all the time. Make excuses. G saying, just say last year against Philly then. But that is not genuine as he was playing with a knee injury. Saying 3 years and making excuses when the stats don't back it up is not genuine, in my opinion. All right. I'm with G. I stand with G and the people on Fred's side, as usual. Mike, Logical Raptors Fanatic saying, gee, facts. Come in correct clears a lot of the disagreement, in my opinion. There you go. Shane Waters is here. West Coast Raptor Freak. Shane Waters is in the house. Top of Top's points against G are about as ridiculous as Pascal not being an all-star. Great points, G. All right. Hey, listen, I Top of Top's a very respected person in this community, and I think that a lot of things that Top of Top has said have been valid and okay. And I don't want to make this a G versus Top of Top thing too much. But I will stand with Fred. But I also see where some of the stuff that Top Top's saying is I agree with, that I think that Fred will have to be a bench player down the road, and that if he stays around. And I don't think that Top is a Fred hater. I don't want you guys to paint him like that, because I think that they're being very fair about him to a degree. MSJ saying Chris was a lifesaver early, but it's hard to understand such slow starts. Just an idea, but why don't they start with set plays? Slow it right down and run something that they know they will have a chance. Yes, this is a great idea, MSJ. And in some ways, I was like arguing for it earlier this season. The one play in particular I want to see is like them posting up OG or Scotty right away. That Scotty is such a high percentage shot that you could get him down low and get a really easy basket, really close to the basket. That's great. And they kind of done this a lot in the recent games recently. It'll be either OG, Pascal, or Scotty, and they're getting a low post shot as the first shot for the game. And when they go in, it's really, really good. I saw OG try and do it once before he got hurt, and he missed the shot, and we didn't start well because of that. That's what I'm saying. Go in there and break the seal of the game with a set play, like MSJ's saying. It's very smart, Nick. And if it can be a low post, easy, high percentage shot that Scotty's been making a lot of recently, there you go. You did it a couple times right around when I was saying that. And it seems like you've kind of gone away from that in some ways. Maybe that you need to just refocus these guys right at the beginning of the game to learn how to break the seal on offense in the game easier and not make it so hard or so deep into the game. Oh my gosh, really crazy. Yeah, I'm with you, MSJ. The set play at the beginning, sure. And it should be a low post shot for one of those guys that can bully ball. David's saying something seems off. Nick's post-game interviews are odd. No eye contact, covered mouth with hand, looks down. Last 2 games I've been taking screenshots of Nick sitting on the bench, hands on lap. And Tom's saying, David, he's stressed, perhaps. I still don't understand why they didn't give us the interviews online last night. I did not see any post-game interviews. Where did you see these interviews, David? Because I have not found them. I have not seen them talk about the game at all anywhere on Yahoo. So I don't know what Nick looked like after the game because I didn't see anything. You know, they're all a little weird. Their energy is all a little weird. The losing has really worn them down. The uncertainty of the situation's wearing them down. Not knowing who's leaving or coming or what's happening with the trades and stuff is wearing them down. This is all very true. And Nick's probably like, I just want to get back to things being more normal and feeling like we're going in the right direction. He may not totally feel like that right now. Isaac's saying, imagine the Raptors had the depth to load manage Fred and properly weather injuries like Kawhi and Lowry. Fred reminds me of Allen Iverson. He plays through it all, injuries, criticism, and BS. Yeah, he's really good at staying focused and just doing what he needs to do because there is a lot of stupid-ass noise and there is a lot of controversy. There's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of hate that's out there that's just unnecessary. Yeah, it'd be great if we had depth and we could load manage guys a little bit better or easier this season, but we don't. And it's really, I don't know what the failure is, whether it's the front office or Nick. Logical saying, Isaac, we wanted to do it more this year, but the others weren't ready and Siakam injury changed the plan with Fred. Yeah, I think that there was so much thrown off by the Siakam injury this year. As far as like a lot of things were already starting to develop in the first beginning of the season and we were starting to head in the right direction. And then we just lost our number one guy, our main firepower. And we didn't really react to that or do well after that. We got into bad losing habits. David's saying being stressed doesn't seem like much of an excuse to emotionally check out. You're making $8 million a year. Do your job, shake it off. You don't think he's on the chopping block? 23 and 43 package going out. All right, David. I know David can be cynical at times. I don't think that he's emotionally checking out. You're talking about Nick still. It's not that. It's like it really is that they're just pissed that they're losing so much. He's frustrated. Maybe he is a little worried. I mean, the whole team is a little bit like in a weird place that they don't know what's happening. That's unsure. And then, I don't think that Nick's getting criticism, but once again, I don't think he's in trouble. I don't think he's going to get fired. And once again, they won last night. He did a good job with the rotations. He won the game. So if we're going by right now, he's not in trouble. He didn't do anything wrong. He won the game last night. That's how I feel. I really do it from like the last game. And I mean, the whole body work of the whole season, we'll look at the end of the year. But I mean, listen, it's not that he's not shaking it off either. He's got to look like he cares. First of all, if he was like normal and positive and really happy with the way things are going right now, I'd be worried. So in some ways, him being the way he is right now is good because that shows that he's really like in a bad place because he's dealing with a lot, and that's natural. I think that would be natural. 23 and 43 package going out. David, stop. We're Raptor fans. We don't want these guys to leave. These are our champions. They're very important. I mean, I've said if Siakam got traded this week, so be it. But in a lot of ways, I don't want him to get traded still, and definitely don't want Fred leaving in any kind of way. Fred is not, I don't want Fred to go anywhere. Siakam, I could see where it could benefit us, but Fred will not be a plus or in any kind of way if he gets traded or we lose him. Trust me, it's not going to be good for us. Top saying, David, there was a part of the season where Nick Nurse didn't get off the bench for 3 or 4 games straight. Then it was just in the fourth quarter. I feel like management told him something about the future. I don't know. I don't want to speculate that way because that is kind of like put in a narrative that has no real factual evidence or anything like that. I know it's just you feeling that. I don't really like read Nick Nurse from whether he's like crouching by the sideline or if he's standing or if he's sitting. I don't read any of that about what he's doing because I've seen him sit on the bench and he's very effective yelling from sitting position and being engaged and doing things on the bench. I think it's just how he feels in the game. And maybe, who knows, there may be things like he has an issue where he wanted to sit because he's not feeling well with the leg or something. I don't know. There could be all kinds of different reasons why he's sitting or up or not. And it really is not worth it to pay attention to that and try and read into him from that. It's kind of weird. I know some people were timing how much of the game he crouches in his little crouch and like keeping that stat for a while. I thought that was weird. MSJ saying, I think the Raps let Fred VanVleet play hurt last month. He's been playing slightly hurt all season. And that's why we low managed him for a while. He would miss games on purpose recently and like even in December and stuff. So he's getting better, though. You can tell he's feeling way better at this point, though he's moving way, way better. And he's doing stuff that he doesn't do if he's banged up. So he's in good shape right now. But he was hurt earlier this season. He played through it, and it's good that he's finally looking good now. Monique saying, news and notes, Raptors City Social is back. Hey, Lex, do you honestly see Jalen Harris back with the Scarborough Shooting Stars with their season approaching? I've not thought about this at all. It's funny how Jalen Harris gets brought up in our stream every once in a while still at this point. I don't know. I have no idea. If he comes back to Scarborough, that'd be great. He may not. Partly because I think part of the reason why he was with the Shooting Stars was the proximity of the Raptors and his dubiousness about whether he's been reinstated into the league at that time. And he's kind of waiting around to see. And then, we might as well play for this pro team while I'm waiting around. I think it was more like that. And now that he's pretty much for sure done with the Raptors, he may not want to come into Canada. He may not want to play in that league. He may be going to play in Europe. He may be, I don't think, is he in G League? He was on the roster of the Knicks at the beginning of the season for a little while, but they cut him. I don't know where he is currently right now. I don't think it's likely that Jalen Harris will be playing for the Shooting Stars just because his time with the Raptors is over. And he has no reason to come here in Canada. He could play anywhere in the world. And I don't think the money for Scarborough is as good as what he could possibly make over in Europe. So I don't think the chances are high, thinking about it logically as I just did. Blackhawk saying, I want Khem back as a starting center, but the more he doesn't play, the better it is for his health in the long run. I think you're right. And I hope that this is exactly right. I think that it really is that Nick, like last year, would play Khem, and it wasn't helping his injuries with his knee very much. And now this year, he's like, all right, well, I'm just not going to play you at all. And we'll see if this actually heals it in some time. And maybe it's a timeline with like near the end of the season, even if it doesn't matter. But he might be thinking I'm saving him, and maybe I'll start using him near the end of the season to get him in game shape. But I really, really want him to heal his knees as much as possible. So yeah, interesting. All right, let's see. David's saying exactly my point, Top. He knows he's going, or some of the players he's closest with are getting packaged and are awaiting shipment. Raps fans either way, 3, 4, 5, 25, 33, 35, and that Doughton kid. Oy, oy, oy. David. All right, it jumped. Let me make sure I get that one figured out. Yeah, whatever they know on the down low, I doubt that they know what you think that they know. I think that this is just common, like wear down from the whole season, and it's not like they know ahead of time that anybody's getting moved or anything like that's happening. I'm sure he's worried about it, and he doesn't want things to happen. Sure, and I don't think that it's like that it's close players to him that are getting moved either. Coaches got to be a certain way with things. The thing is that all right, this is what he cares about. He cares about his winning percentage as a coach. He cares about his look as a coach. In some ways, sure, he cares about the players. He cares about the team winning, but also the way the team's playing is a reflection of him. And in some ways, that could be part of why he's sad too. Is like, look, he's had such a good winning percentage as a coach his time with the Raptors so far, and it's falling a little bit because of a couple poor seasons, Tampa and this one. So, I don't know. I don't know. You guys are reading too much into how body language and what people are thinking about and why they're sad. I think it's very simple. It's just that we're having a lower outcome with what we expected for this year, is what it is. Yeah. So the numbers you got there. Okay. So you got OG, Scotty, Precious, Chris, Gary, and Coloco, and that Doughton kid. That's the team that you think is going to be around. And then the other guys will be gone. We'll have to see. Logical saying MSJ. I don't like that though, because I don't want to lose both of them. You can lose one of them, but you can't lose both of them. You can't lose both Pascal and Fred. I'm sorry, that's too much. You can lose one of them at the most, and hopefully neither of them. MSJ, I believe that was the case with the back thing, and so many guys out, and the reason in the season in the balance, we weren't ready to give up on the season and pushed a lot of buttons during the injuries. Yeah, we were trying we were kind of scrambling, and we were trying different things to stop the bleeding because of the injuries and the losing. So we kind of scrapped a lot of the game plan for the season that we were trying to institute because we had to, because we didn't have the manpower or the ability to do it anymore. And we had to go back to stuff that we were doing well last year and trying to do that more again this year, even though we wanted to do things totally different this year. And we were starting to move towards that. And then, injuries just sidelined that and fucked that all up. They really did. MSJ saying it logical, I guess, but next time just tell Fred to rest. But it seems a trade is coming. As for wins and losses, best to just enjoy the game. I spent years enjoying losing Raptors ball. Laugh out loud. See, MSJ's been from back in the day. There's been a lot of seasons that have been hard to be a Raptors fan. That's why we really got to enjoy the winning seasons and the good times. And they will be back again. And they will be way more common than the shitty seasons. It's just that, we've had to weather some stuff. And it's, there's likely to have bad luck, bad seasons from time to time. Every sports franchise goes through this in different ways. David's saying, yeah, it's true. It's been a successful road trip. It's not that I'm negative on the team. We just seem so lost and it seems so late. Perhaps change would be good for us. A move getting back 2 picks. I mean, I'm not against this. At this point, I was like, a couple of weeks ago, I was saying, no, let's not move anybody, ride or die and make it through it and we'll get it together. But at this point, I'm like, yeah, we need a kick in the ass. We need something to energize us one way or another, just to give us a little bit more hope and excitement about the possibility to have a better chance to win. And a move is pretty much having to happen to get that kind of feeling on the team again. That there has to be something, even if it's sad to a degree. Well, if it gives us some excitement about the prospect of possibly being improved, then that might be the kick in the ass we need. So I don't know picks are right. We're very anti-picks here. We want an established young player that can come and help us right away, and not a pick that we're going to get in like years to come or something like that. We got enough pick. We get the allotted picks that we have already. We don't really need to go get other people's picks, because sometimes picks just cause more confusion in trying to choose who should be picked to stay and who's like expendable to be able to be moved out. Like Oklahoma City situation is just insane. It's just such a swamp of just weirdness. And like a glut of excess in picks. And we don't want to be like that. I think you hit the marks. If you have 2 picks every draft, that's great. You got a first and a second round pick. That's great. That's all you need. You only need 2 new guys every year to suss them out and figure them out. You get like 5 rookies coming in a class. That's a headache to me in some ways. It's not like these guys are going to get any worth out of them because they won't get to play. And half of them will probably leave and not be a part of us anyway. So I do not value picks at all. Get an established like 2 or 3 year player instead. Nameless is saying, damn, I want retribution points for all my great comments of the past. Retroactively scored. Well, we'll see how this goes and stuff like that. Maybe I will even have a prize for at the end of it for extra wittiness by the end of the season. I don't know. More prizes on this channel, the better, right? But yeah, we'll see. I'm sure you're going to be a very strong contender when we start doing this, Nameless. Logical saying, MSJ, not gonna lie, who's saying a trade will happen? Have we heard from the guys making the decisions on anything? The facts are the facts, opinion is opinion. But trading Fred because he's bad and doesn't fit isn't facts. Yeah. We don't know. There's been so much different noise coming from around in any kind of different way. It really is speculation if you're looking at people's faces and trying to decide, oh, they already know that somebody's traded, or Nick already knows this, and that's why he's so sour right now. No. He's pissed off because we're losing. He's pissed off because we're losing. That's purely it. And, even beating Houston last night, it wasn't super impressive, but we did get the win. But maybe that's part of the reason why they didn't do a press conference. It's like, why are we going to come out here and talk about winning? It's like, we shouldn't be that proud about beating Houston the way we did. So I don't even want to talk about it. Let's just go to the next game. I think that may be why they didn't do interviews last night. They were like, we just want to get the fuck out of Houston and go right to Memphis. And there's no reason to comment on this game. It's exactly what you saw. Monique is saying the great thing after this road trip is we play shitty teams, Spurs, etc. But fans are looking at the trade deadline like crazy. It's crazy. This is really good. We got a homestand around the All-Star break. We get like 5 home games in a row with like a couple of them on the other side of the All-Star break. And they're easier teams. So this is really a period where we need to catch up some inertia and get closer to 500 as much as possible in the month of February. Let's say MSJ saying, I have to say this. Pensier is highly entertaining. His argumentative nature is what it is. Last night, his stream was hilarious with the tension. Any YouTuber who pushes and puts in the effort has my support. Okay. Well, that's cool. I can respect that from my end. I mean, in some ways, that's kind of tabloid kind of shit, though. It's like you want to make an air of tension just to get things feeling good and stuff like that. I get that. I mean, I roast people on this channel, and we could have tension here. But I mean, that's kind of tabloid sensationalized kind of like information. In some ways, I don't know. I want to get like, it's not that I'm the end all be all of factualness or bringing information about the Raptors, but in some ways, your delivery doesn't have to be like, inside edition. Dun, 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 dun. That's what I mean. And okay, if you get into that kind of energy, sure, go ahead and enjoy it. I won't tell you not to. But we are putting more money in the swear jar. We're not supposed to mention them here. Race Mode Daily saying he's the type of person that wouldn't enjoy Disneyland. Wow, we're really getting some good shots in on him here. All right. Illogical saying, MSJ, you're solid, though. I know you understand things better than most and aren't on those hit clip things. The NBA is a business, and trade hype and 2K stuff gets the clicks at the moment, but most of the time is just smoke. Yeah, at times I've thought about being more clickbaity and trying to get more of an audience, but I'm like thinking, you know what? This may not be the audience that I want to get if I'm trying to put out more clickbaity kind of titles and like content and stuff. This is something that I've tried to balance as far as like, with what I do here. But yeah, I don't know. We all have different styles. And if you guys like him too, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you not to watch him. Just realize what he is and what he's all about. And then if you can watch him critically and take him point to point, whether you want to believe him or not, that's smart. Just don't just fall in with them like being like somebody who's just like everything he says is gold and I just believe him and follow him blindly, because he's probably saying a lot of crazy out of pocket shit too. There may be some good stuff in there that's like, okay, but there's a lot of extra stuff that's like, what the fuck are you saying? David saying, I agree, Lex. Ayton would be interesting. I've been dreaming of a trade, 23 and 43 for Ayton and Bridges. Masai may even fleece a pick out of it too. That's crazy talk though, David. That's too much of our important people. One of them maybe, and it's Siakam. Siakam, the trade I saw was Siakam for Ayton and Saric and a pick. That lines up. And this was put forth by the ESPN guy in his article earlier this week. I forget which one, but they're saying Siakam for DeAndre Ayton and Dario Saric and a pick. That would be equal to Siakam. And I mean, I don't totally hate that deal. Getting Bridges from Phoenix is not going to happen. That guy is like their Scottie. He's like the dude that they want forever. He's like a two-way player. He's really, really good. He's underrated. He's under the radar. Not a lot of people are like after him, but he's a very good player. And he's like a defensive player of the year kind of candidate, but also an underrated scorer. They're not trading him no matter what. And they wouldn't do that deal that you put forward. Take Bridges out because he's untouchable. They're not going to trade him. Trust me. Spicy P22 is here. I like the spicy moniker, and we support Pascal Siakam, even though I just said I'd trade him for DeAndre Ayton. Kyrie messed up everything. Now we have to wait. In some ways, this may be true. Like last year, Kevin kind of delayed the free agency last summer because of his like discontent in Brooklyn. And in some ways, as much as we were the first domino that was looking to be like falling in the trade deadline right now, in some ways now it looks like the Kyrie thing is something everybody's going to be paying attention to and waiting and anticipating off of instead of the Raptors possibly moving an asset. This may be good though, Spicy, and I'll say it is because it's a distraction and a diversion to get off the pressure off of us to make a deal. Maybe we don't want to make a deal, and the Kyrie circus will drown out the fact that we didn't do something. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this all goes and just try and game it to our advantage no matter what. MSJ saying at Logical Raptors Fanatic, I was more thinking OG's the dude on the move, not Fred. But no trade. I'm not a fan of the 6'9", and I really like traditional ball. Not a track team out there. Appreciate you. You know what? I can get behind this too. I mean, I like the 6'9" to a degree as an experiment, but in some ways we've seen that it fails. But you know what I'd like the Raptors to do is be a hybrid. You have hybrid cars that run on gas and electric. Well, let's do this. Let's have the old school gas of the traditional five with the point guard and center look, and also have a 6'9" vision look also that we can run alternately. And that having Fred on this team still allows us to have that traditional look easier, that we just need to get the center. And I get what MSJ is saying, that they don't mind moving OG because OG is like kind of duplicated with other guys on the team. And Fred's the very unique, different player on this team than anyone else on this team. So, yeah, I get it. I want to be a hybrid of both. I think that the more we have versatility in that, where we can go a traditional five lineup with a center and a point guard, the better, along with still experimenting with the 6'9" vision further and mastering it, getting better at it, and seeing more and more ways that it can be effective. I don't see why not. You have so many different people on your team with the roster. You could have different squads that you can build at the same time. And I think getting the center will help that traditional lineup look that MSJ enjoys. And I enjoy also. But I am also very intrigued with the possibilities of 6'9", and I don't want to give up on that experiment either. But I think we can have both looks on the same roster. And we got to switch guys around, and there's no problem with that. Paul B saying, True Talks had a video last night saying trading OG would be a massive mistake. And Siakam is the only piece that needs to be traded since he cancels out Scotty's game. I can't disagree. I'd love a haul. Once again, I've stood up for Siakam and said, he's somebody we should not trade in some ways. But in some ways, I'm coming around on he may be very valuable and we could get a haul for him. And you know what? This point about him canceling out Scotty, I don't know if that's exactly true, but he does kind of hinder other guys in some ways from getting more touches. And the thing about it is I've been critical about Siakam in the last week about him not being efficient. That he takes a lot of shots, but he's not shooting a high percentage, or he turns the ball over. Some of the stuff he does on the offensive end looks really bad. We don't get anything. I want to start pivoting to a number one that is way more efficient and is more likely to have the outcome of making a bucket more often. And that is what I'm saying. And especially if like Siakam, right, he's depending on getting fouls and then getting the free throw line, and then he's missing like a good amount of the free throws he's getting also. See, that's not efficient in any of those areas whether it's the field goal percentage, the free throw percentage, or even like him turning the ball over in ways that he's turned the ball over recently. And that there's guys on our team that are very capable to try and be the primary guy, that I want to see them get a chance to see if they can be more efficient and effective at being the number one in scoring outcomes. So that's part of it with Siakam, as far as like if he is traded and we get somebody that fills a void, something different, and then guys that are already on this team can step up and take more of the stuff that Siakam did, that would be easier to transition from in a way than OG. Because in some ways, OG does certain things that nobody else on this team does. And that will be really hard to replace. So I'm totally with Paul B's statement here from True Talks. There's a lot of it that I like. It's just going to be really hard to part with Siakam. Shane's saying, I respect Top's points most of the time and respect he is not a Fred hater. If I didn't, I would have said things a lot differently. Shane Waters, you be a real one. You go. Bam. No filter here. Well, that's good. That we're that it is important for us to have respect for each other when we don't totally agree right the same way. And I think that we're really doing a good job here, because there are a couple different opinions being expressed here that don't totally go in line with everything that we like to do on this channel. But we're allowing for it and we're being respectful and we're not just like fighting. And that's really good, because we need to kind of have that kind of discourse in the world more and more to be more mature and get somewhere, and like not just like stalemate. Like, you got to find a connection of like what you both believe in together and build from that, instead of looking at the things that you are differing on way more in society, just in general, in all kinds of areas, especially politics. MSJ, respect always, no doubt. You see, I love it. Callie's here. Good to see Callie Mayer, original Raptor freak. It must be really hard for the players who don't know what the future holds to focus on the game. Will be nice when the trade deadline comes. Yeah, in some ways, the pressure leading up to the trade deadline, this is a very stressful time of the year for all NBA players. And it's not just our team. There's other teams, but they may be winning and having good things going, so it's not as unsure. So if your team's in a bad place and it is around the trade deadline, it's a double whammy. And that's basically what the Raptors are like right now. Yeah, I'm going to be glad when this trade deadline passes later this week, too. Let's just get it over and done with. Oh, my gosh. David saying, it's got nothing to do with not being a fan. I know I'm a fan. Buy low, sell high, get back to winning. Yeah, we all have different ideas about the strategy, about how to get there. And there probably are a ton of different ways you could do it in different things. Yeah, I'm never big on destroying more. I'd really like to continue to create with what you already have. I don't like just tearing things down and starting completely over, especially when I feel like a lot of what the Raptors have had going in the last few years has been really, really good. And if we can salvage and keep as much as possible to carry over and continue a legacy from the first championship, I think that that's smart. So I know you're a fan. I know you have your intentions right, but in some ways you're being very negative, David. And especially, I don't like how you are so easy to throw Pascal and Fred and Nick away right now. And you're definitely not valuing them as much as you should, maybe in some ways. Top saying, if it's my choice, I think the haul for Pascal would be massive, and we could set this team up for the next 10 years. Rudy Gay trade, but on steroids. OG and Gary could stay in the scenario with talent and picks. Yeah, I don't hate the sound of this at all. And I think you're right. I think you really are right. But this is the tough decision. This may be part of why Masai is so tortured right now. He does not want to give up on Pascal. Pascal's his dude. He loves him. We said this earlier this week, and this may be part of it. Maybe Matt Masai and Nick looking horrible and tortured is a very similar thing. You guys may be right on that. I'm not going to say you're not right, but it is still speculation when you're just looking at a man's face and trying to tell why does he look like that. All right, let's see. G saying nothing against Top at all. If we're going to talk about stats, should be fair in my opinion. Saying he struggles against height is fair. Half-court offense is fair. Saying he hasn't done anything as a starter in 3 years is not completely accurate. Okay, yeah, I'm glad we're all like, seriously, this is very respectful discourse, and that, we could be role models for other internet spaces on how to have effective conversations as adults and disagree still. Cool Cat saying Nick Nurse got put the Houston game squarely in Fred VanVleet and Pascal's hands to make sure we win at all costs. You can tell because Scottie was not used as a playmaker. He wanted the experience of his young vets. Yeah, I could see that. Scottie was kind of a secondary guy in a lot of different ways, and his stats kind of showed that. But he was still filling very important energy roles, very much crashing the boards, very, very physical in the game still, especially on defense and mixing it up with Sengun. But he did stay away from being down low, as we said earlier, shot more from outside, and he wasn't as much of a conduit for the offense in some ways. You're right. He did get 4 assists, but he was three guys got 4 assists, and they were the assist leaders. Pascal, Fred, and Scottie all only got 4 assists, and then nobody else got more. So I don't know. I think Cool Cat's right. That Scottie his role was shifted a little bit different, but it was tailored to help the team win against the Rockets in the way they did yesterday. Yeah, I think that's all pretty right. That Nick wanted more experienced vets in contrast to the younger team of the Rockets. Well, that's an advantage we can utilize against them. You use Scottie as a young player against young players. Well, that's not really gaining the advantage of having Fred against the young players. And I think that Cool Cat's exactly right. David saying, I'm not saying I want to trade them. I'm not saying I don't like them. I love them both. Unclear the value we get for Fred, if not packaged with this championship, all NBA partner in crime. That's all. No, we get good value for Fred no matter what. Listen, we may be sleeping on how good he is in our own nation of people, not fans, but the rest of the league isn't. Trust me, there's teams that will line up with a trade for Fred very, very quickly and be very happy doing it. The Lakers, in particular, I'll bet you Mavericks would be very happy to get Fred VanVleet on their team in some ways to replace them losing Brunson this offseason and just helping Luka have some sort of chance. There's a lot of different situations around the league that Fred could get plugged into pretty quickly, and he doesn't have to be packaged with Siakam to go there. But once again, I don't want Fred going anywhere. He's like our brain, and I don't want to be the scarecrow in Wizard of Oz. Callie's saying, why do you think Gary sat so long and only had limited shots when he was shooting so well? I saw him open a lot. Okay, yeah, some people are saying it's like he makes 8 shots in a row. Why isn't he shooting more at the end of the game? And yeah, there was a period of time in the first half that he sat on the bench for a little bit longer than usual. But part of it was because they were so bad at the beginning of the game. And Chris really energized them that he had to eat into some of Gary's minutes probably that were probably going to go to him in the first quarter because they needed Chris right away to jumpstart them. So that was part of the reason why Gary had a long stretch on the bench. And then I'm mystified still too by why he's not getting more shot attempts at the end of the game. They should be looking for him and he should be taking big shots in the end game. I agree with this. And I know that Jordan Bolton's very vocal about this on his Twitter. He really is. He's very much watching the game from completely Gary's perspective and saying stuff like, why don't they make him shoot? Why don't they let him shoot? Why is Fred always shooting? Top saying Lex, but it's good to have picks to use in future trades to add the last piece. I've been here since year 1 in 95 and losing seasons, but I would be patient and rebuild because I trust Masai. Okay, yeah, I can see that kind of strategy. You stockpile picks just to trade them again later. Yeah, all right. And maybe they're worth it. But what if you don't trade those picks and they just kind of hang around the whole time and you got to trade them, or you got to draft them still? It's like, I don't know. I'm just because the way Masai and the Raptors have been about trade picks, not really caring about them or relying on them to build, I don't value them as much as other teams or other fans around the NBA. So, yeah, and I appreciate you being a day one since 95. That's awesome. Yeah, lots of losing seasons. So you can remember, okay, I'm glad that you have a good perspective on things. We just don't know these days. There's so many newer fans that it's hard to know who OGs are from the very beginning. And it is good to know to put forth that you are, because I do give a lot more credit to people like you, Evelyn, and Monique that have been around the team and cared about the team since the very beginning. Because you guys really do have a perspective that informs how a team should be run and whether we're in bad place or not. All right. Rorschach saying, how do I donate to your channel? I still don't have that capability yet. I've thought about setting up a Patreon and just doing it that way, but I'm lazy and I haven't looked into it and got it set up. The other way would be for me to get to 1,000 subscriptions and be able to just do the super chats in the chat here. So eventually down the road, that'll happen, Rorschach. And hopefully you'll stick with me through this whole time and you'll see it happen. And you'll be like, yay. I remember in 2023 when we were talking about how can I donate to your channel? And I was like, yeah, wait, we'll do that. And hopefully you'll be still around when that actually is able to happen. In fact, some ways it may be that I may, like, much like Nameless wants to get retroactively points for his great comments, I may retroactively get a lot of donations for all the time I've been doing it without getting any. I don't know. We could see how it happens. But I appreciate that you have that inclination. And we'll see. We'll work on it at some point. Once again, I'm not a super capitalistic kind of guy who's just trying to money grub. And if it happens and I get some money for doing this channel, that's great. But it's really not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for the passion. I'm doing this because I'm just like y'all. I love this team, and I just wanted a place for us to have a healthy place to talk about it. And other people may really care about getting donations and their channel doing really well on YouTube and stuff, but I don't. I'm not that guy. I really have a pure reason for why I do this. Isaac's saying maybe Nick was waiting for something to happen or reinforcements, and Masai said not to expect anything. 5 days left and barely a trade. No trade coming. Away we grow. And away we grow. I like that, Isaac. Yeah, who knows? If he's depressed because no trades are coming, see, we could speculate it that way too. Tom Duke saying, let's grow Raptors. That's right. Let's grow Raptors. He's got the little inchworm that grows into the Raptor. I don't know how that happened, but I like it. It's weird evolution. It's like a Pokemon. Logical saying, speaking of growing, this Saturday 2 p.m. Logic drop today is a big step up in editing process knowledge. I want to thank everyone rocking with me while I figure out the creator side more. Real ones. W stream, let's grow raps always. Yeah, Mike, 2:00. I guess that's in 2 hours, y'all. Mike will be dropping his latest piece on his channel, Logical Raptors Fanatic. So check it out. I highly recommend it. 2:00 drop. Monique saying, W game, W stream, stay away with it, Lex. Go Raptors. Congratulations to Masai on Giants of Africa. More things coming for it on that side of things. Cool. All right. I didn't hear the news about Giants of Africa, but as always, anything going on with Masai and Giants of Africa is awesome, and I support. Nameless saying, I think Orlando is interested in overpaying Fred just so he can mentor Jalen Suggs. Clearly, Fred provides tremendous value for any team that has him. For sure. For sure, Fred instantly brings value. He brings his intelligence, his smarts, his way of reading the court. He brings a leadership. He brings a respect. He brings a pedigree. He brings a whole body work from before him that is respected by the league. You can tell players like the other day when he got into it with that one player, he cared about whether they were cool, Nasir Little. So it's like, there are people that care about what Fred thinks about them because he's somebody who's respected with his mind and how he plays and how he carries himself. Then maybe some of these players are like, well, Fred doesn't like me, then I must be doing something wrong. That's the thing. He has a respect around the league that's like that. I wish that our people in our nation would be more like that with him too. Scott B saying, come on, Lex. I expect more of you. Pascal for 8, and we are sleeping on our big 3, and they deserve so much more. We need to keep all 3. No one out. They're better. All right, Scott B, I have to respect and love these saying this, and he's getting on to me for turning on Pascal recently. Yeah, I you know what? You're right, Scott B. I got to stop turning on these 3, our championship 3. This is a rule I made myself a long time ago, is that we don't get rid of our champions no matter what. But why am I thinking that this is the time and this would make sense at this point all of a sudden? I'm so tortured, just like Nick and Masai right now. I am just tortured. We are tortured as a fan nation right now. Let's see. Duke's saying, unless the pick is lottery, the value decreases significantly. I don't think Masai wants to wait for picks to mature. Yeah. In some ways, we have a timeline. And in some ways, sure, it's good to keep getting good new blood coming in, replenishing and stuff. But also at the same time, we don't want to wait. We need help right away. We need instant help from people. Cool Cat saying, my fear for Scotty, we hand over the team and then fans turn on him and we are not contenders in 2 years. At a minimum, we need Pascal or Fred around for culture and habits. I've been here since 95 too. All right, cool. Yeah. I mean, all right, I can see all types of the argument. That's why I don't know if there's a very clear, easy answer to what we should do as a team, whether we should stand pat or we should make a huge move or just a little move or what. Once again, we're just sitting here with the popcorn. We're eating it. We're watching. We just got to see what they're going to do. And we have no control over it. You know, at 2 o'clock, not only is Mike dropping his latest drop, the Raptors 905 are playing the Cleveland Charge once again. We blew them out the other night. So let's get ready to watch some Raptors 905 basketball. 2 o'clock from Mississauga. The referees for that game are Brent Haskell. He's the ref that got Mike Brown thrown out in the Sacramento game earlier this season. He is the head ref for the Cleveland 905 game today. Ian McClenny is the second ref, and Jacob Barnett. That's your ref crew for Raptors 905 starting at 2 o'clock, y'all. So we need to wrap this up so we can watch some Raptors 905 this afternoon. Yeah, good stuff. I think I covered pretty much everything I wanted to say. Yeah, I see that Mike's got one more thing to chime in there. All right, Raptors, last night was a good win, even though it's like sad and pathetic and in some ways maybe not a good win, but it's a win, and a win is good. And that's why I say it's a good win. Media, stop putting on blast how sad our team is right now. Of course they're sad. They've been losing, and there may be the prospect of one of their friends getting traded very soon. So it's understandable if there's a little bit of a dark, stormy cloud over the heads of most of the Raptors team right now. So yeah, just let it go and let them have this time to be away and not have to talk to us or have any problems on blast. Y'all don't put the vibes out there, Josh Lewenberg. No reason to do it. Good stuff from a lot of the players last night. My 3 stars were Fred, Gary, and Pascal. Honorable mention to Chris Boucher for jump starting the game at the beginning. The Rockets, on their side of the ball, Eric Gordon, he's been in this league for so long. Good job by him. He really started that game really on the right foot, opposite what we did, getting the Rockets going and getting 28 points by the end of the game. He really showed he has value, and he may be somebody that a lot of people are going to try and get for making a playoff run on good teams. So I could totally see the Rockets moving Eric Gordon very soon. Sengun is quite the prospect. 21 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 9 of 12 from free throw line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. He is a load to manage down low. He's very tough in some ways, and he's annoying. Tari Easton's a very active player, and he's very physical. He's annoying. Fernando is annoying at times, but once again, we saw Bruno Fernando kind of show that respect towards Fred at a certain point. I think he hit Fred or something, and he turned to him and he said, "Are we okay? We're cool." So this is, that's what I'm saying. Fred has respect around this league. Good job beating the Rockets. You should have, and if you hadn't, it would have been a disaster today. Thank God you took care of it. All right, tomorrow we got the Memphis Grizzlies without Dillon Brooks. So I'll have everything ready for the preview tomorrow morning, 9:30. Memphis Grizzlies, Toronto Raptors. Last game of the 7-game road trips. Let's get the win in this one so we end up 4-3 for the 7-game road trip and make it a winning road trip. That's a small victory in itself. It's a tough task. But you know what, Raptors? I believe in you. I really do. A lot of people do not believe in you right now, but I still do. It's that Raptor freak, and that's what we do. We believe in you guys. Yeah, Duke Rock's saying guys like Trey Murphy, Keegan Murphy are targets I can see where we trade our assets for. Okay, you like Keegan Murray? Yeah, he's all right. Cool Cat saying I still believe in Pascal, Fred, OG, and we're simply waiting on Scottie and Precious to get there in a center, and we will be ready to fly. In the next 1 or 2 years, we will be ready. All right, Cool Cat, you keep it positive, and I love your attitude about it, and I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right. In some ways, I do want to keep this band together, but in some ways, I do see where we need to be a little bit ready to switch things up because we just need to. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. There's smarter people that know more about this that are handling it than us. Thank God. Scott B saying, if the media lacks everybody is against us right now, that's why the real ones have to stay with them and remind everybody what they've done for this team in this country. That's such a great statement, Scott B. And thank you for saying that. Scott B has a great roofing company. Check it out. Northeastern Roofing Company, Scott B. Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. In some ways, the media loves a sensationalized story. And if we're down, they want to make it even worse, and they'll make it look worse. Even our own Canadian media. It doesn't even have to be the U.S. and NBA media. They're definitely doing it also. So that's the thing. You go stay true to your team. You stay true to your team through the hardest times of all. And that's really the test for us at this point. Some of those fans are kind of fans are really turning their back or maybe even like sticking the knife in the back of the Raptors too at the same time. Shane saying, spoiler alert, no one is going anywhere. There are no trades proposals juicy enough for Masai right now. I love it, Shane. And on that note, I'm going to finish it up. Thank you. If you enjoy my channel, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And at some point, I promise you guys will be able to make a donation somehow, some way. It's just not yet. And I do appreciate the sentiment that you would like to. Awesome. It really means a lot. All right, y'all. Keep positive. Keep our heads up high. We are Raptors Nation. We are the real fans. And we need to continue to carry that flag, even when everybody else is like, yeah, you suck. Or, man, I don't want to be associated with the Raptors. A bunch of losers is kind of what some people are saying. Mike saying, I got way too many jerseys to switch teams at this point. Yeah, I mean, whatever. People that switch teams, like they switch their clothes, I don't have any respect for them. You got to be a day oneer and stick with your team no matter what. All right, guys, have a great day. Thank you, Tom Duke, for everything you do on this channel. I really, really do appreciate you, sir, for all the work you put into the Raptor Freak channel. And I appreciate everybody spending your time here with me and talking. And once again, an adult discourse about the Raptors where we don't all totally agree, but we all look at it from different ways and different things, and we kind of get an idea more of the picture because we all look at it from different perspectives. I think that that's very healthy, and that is the way good decisions are made, when you have different people chiming in with different ideas, and then sometimes you find the best ideas from them. If the Raptors use this channel as some sort of positive fan hive mind to get ideas and listen to what we're thinking and how we feel, I hope we help them with understanding where the fans, the ones that really do care about this team doing well, how they feel about the team. So please, any Raptor representative that watches this and tells the organization what's happening, we appreciate you. And hopefully we can figure this all out together, whether you guys say it officially that we're involved or not. But yeah, there you go, guys. I appreciate everybody. Y'all have a great Saturday. Raptors 905 at 2 o'clock. So tune on in. Let's go.